Pues vamos a comenzar. Por favor, les ruego que mantengan silencio. Vamos a comenzar en un minuto la reunión.
Sí.
Muy buenos días a todos y a todas. Es un placer para mí poderles dar la bienvenida otra vez. Muchísimas gracias al alcalde de Málaga, que nos vuelve a acompañar, al presidente de la Diputación de Málaga, los diputados y senadores españoles que también están en este acto, querido vicepresidente del Senado, querido presidente de la Cámara de Representantes del Reino de Marruecos, estimada vicepresidenta del Parlamento Europeo, estimado vicepresidente de la Cámara de Representantes de la República Árabe de Egipto, estimados presidentes y jefes de delegación, señoras y señores. Decía que es de nuevo un inmenso honor para mí inaugurar esta 18ª sesión plenaria de la Asamblea Parlamentaria de la Unión por el Mediterráneo. Ayer debatimos ampliamente sobre la situación migratoria en el Mediterráneo desde una perspectiva integral, el tema elegido por la presidencia española de la Asamblea Parlamentaria de la Unión por el Mediterráneo. Y tuvimos la oportunidad de aprobar una declaración final que recoge las reflexiones de la cumbre de presidentes celebrada ayer, pero también las de todas las reuniones y encuentros que han tenido lugar durante esta presidencia. Como ayer les adelanté, la presidencia española se comprometió con la presidencia saliente del Parlamento de Marruecos en revitalizar los trabajos de esta Asamblea y resaltar el papel del diálogo regional. Viajamos a Chipre, donde disfrutamos de la hospitalidad de su presidenta para conocer de primera mano su situación de emergencia migratoria. Posteriormente, celebramos una reunión sectorial en la isla de Lanzarote, que pertenece a la ruta migratoria atlántica, una de las más mortíferas. El objetivo era sentar en la misma mesa a los países de origen y los principales países de destino para encontrar soluciones comunes. En el mes de abril celebramos en Granada una reunión inédita, el Foro sobre el futuro del Mediterráneo, con 4 mesas de trabajo sobre las causas fundamentales de los movimientos migratorios, en la que nos acompañó Su Majestad el Rey. Creemos que sería bueno celebrar una segunda edición de este foro con ocasión de la próxima presidencia egipcia para dar continuidad a aquellos debates. Hoy, con la celebración de esta sesión plenaria, finalizaremos aquí nuestra presidencia y cederemos el testigo a la próxima presidencia del Parlamento egipcio. Pero antes intercambiaremos de nuevo opiniones sobre los retos que afronta el Mediterráneo y reiteraremos el compromiso compartido por la paz, la estabilidad y la prosperidad a escala regional. El conflicto en Oriente Próximo es un omnipresente telón de fondo, cada vez más tenso, cada vez más irracional, y quiero insistir en que resulta imperativo el cese de las hostilidades en la Franja de Gaza y la construcción de un consenso euroárabe en torno a la solución de los 2 estados. El alto el fuego entre Irán e Israel debe hacerse permanente y total. De lo contrario, el tablero global se resquebrajaría aún más, con consecuencias nefastas. Recuperar la cordura a través del respeto a la legalidad internacional, el multilateralismo y el diálogo es el horizonte al que debemos dirigirnos, sin olvidarnos de los desafíos pendientes. Los movimientos migratorios acucian la necesidad de crear procesos legales más rápidos y fluidos, asistidos por sistemas informáticos modernos y agencias más eficaces, que nos permitan ordenar los flujos migratorios sobre la base de las necesidades de contrataciones reales. También es importante la inversión en los países de origen de la migración para evitar los desplazamientos migratorios no deseados y luchar contra las mafias organizadas. Además, es preciso atender con urgencia las devastadoras causas climáticas y medioambientales que están detrás de muchos de estos desplazamientos. Es una buena noticia, por tanto, el aumento considerable de la capacidad de uso de energías renovables en nuestra región mediterránea. Y debemos hacer todo esto sin desatender a las poblaciones más vulnerables, las mujeres, la mitad de la población, y las personas jóvenes que viven en la región mediterránea se enfrentan a retos muy particulares. La inversión en educación e innovación puede dar lugar a un crecimiento económico significativo, porque incorporaría al mercado de trabajo a un porcentaje muy importante de la población. Un sistema educativo de calidad puede contribuir también a luchar contra los extremismos y, sin duda, fomenta la cohesión social y cultural. Abriría la puerta a una cooperación más rica entre las dos orillas del Mediterráneo, con la justa y necesaria participación de la sociedad civil en el debate sobre la construcción de su futuro. Durante la presidencia española hemos incorporado con nosotros a esa forma de enfocar los foros a la Fundación Anna Lindh, y quiero agradecer a su director ejecutivo, Josep Ferrer, y a todo el equipo que nos haya acompañado. Hoy volveremos a tener jóvenes de la Fundación Anna Lindh explicándonos sus propuestas. Yo creo que es fundamental, en el momento que vivimos, saber escuchar a los jóvenes, dejarles participar activamente, aprender de ellos y compartir con ellos las decisiones no solo del futuro, sino del presente que nos asola. Por tanto, creo que es importante y fundamental, y estoy convencida que mi querido vicepresidente del Parlamento egipcio va a seguir contando con la Fundación Anna Lindh en estos foros, en estos diálogos, en este trabajo compartido entre todos y entre todas. Voy terminando. El diálogo está en el origen y en la esencia de la Asamblea Parlamentaria de la Unión por el Mediterráneo. Y en el diálogo, tan necesario en tiempos de creciente conflicto como el actual, los parlamentos tenemos un papel esencial. El pluralismo político que representamos permite llegar a puntos de acuerdo con un alcance muy superior al que permiten los gobiernos. Legitiman democráticamente las decisiones que los gobiernos impulsan para la consecución de la paz y la estabilidad en el proceso de integración regional mediterráneo y pueden dar una enorme visibilidad y transparencia al partenariado euromediterráneo. Por eso les animo mucho a seguir con su labor en el ámbito de cada una de las comisiones respectivas que conforman esta Asamblea durante la siguiente presidencia y de cuyas recomendaciones tendremos conocimiento en la sesión de hoy. Como decía al principio, hoy dejamos la presidencia española en manos del Parlamento de Egipcio. Estoy segura que en unas manos maravillosas y que vamos a continuar trabajando codo a codo para hacer posible que esta Asamblea de la Unión por el Mediterráneo siga creciendo en base al diálogo, al respeto, al conocimiento mutuo y en la búsqueda de la paz. Como decía ayer, muchísimas gracias a todas las delegaciones, a todo el personal que ha trabajado desde cada una de las delegaciones del Congreso y del Senado español de una forma especial por habernos hecho muy fácil poder llevar esta presidencia española a su término. Hagamos posible ese sueño de que el mar Mediterráneo deje de ser una tumba para muchísimos ciudadanos y ciudadanas y vuelva a ser un puente de diálogo, un puente de unión entre diferentes culturas. Muchas gracias. Tiene ahora la palabra la vicepresidenta del Parlamento Europeo, la señora Pina Picierno.
Cara Francina, cari colleghi.
Muchas gracias, estimada Francina. Distinguidos colegas, es para mí un honor poder tomar hoy la palabra con ocasión de esta importante sesión. Y obviamente pues quisiera comenzar reiterando mi sincero agradecimiento a la presidencia española por la calidad de su trabajo durante el último año. Ha sido un esfuerzo que han realizado de forma constante y generosa, que ha aportado un nuevo dinamismo a esta Asamblea. Asimismo, quisiera agradecer a los presidentes de los parlamentos de Egipto y Marruecos, quienes, junto con el Parlamento Europeo, son miembros de la mesa. Me complace especialmente hablar de esta cooperación que hemos logrado consolidar durante este año tan importante, en el que hemos consolidado y avanzado en nuestro trabajo. La decisión de la Presidencia de poner a la cooperación en materia de migración en el núcleo de nuestra agenda anual no ha sido únicamente oportuna, sino que desde luego ha sido una decisión de cara al futuro y que se ha visto reflejada concretamente en la labor realizada por las 5 comisiones temáticas que han abordado este tema con rigor y con un diálogo franco. Ahora mismo he de decir que esta Asamblea es una plataforma política única, porque contar con una plataforma política única es verdaderamente algo especial. No solo es un espacio para la comparación, también es un espacio en el que, mediante una voluntad compartida, podemos definir una perspectiva política común de cara al futuro de nuestra región. Y tenemos ahora esta reunión 30 años después, desde el lanzamiento del proceso de Barcelona, y hemos de reconocer que muchos desafíos que existían hace ya 30 años siguen estando presentes hoy en día. Y muchas de las promesas que habíamos hecho ante nuestros ciudadanos europeos, pues estas promesas lamentablemente no se han visto cumplidas. Estoy pensando en un espacio común de paz, de estabilidad, de prosperidad para toda la región en su conjunto, que era nuestra ambición, de hecho, en el proceso de Barcelona. Así que necesitamos, por tanto, continuar trabajando de forma inspirada y trabajar de cara a un objetivo que haga de esta zona una zona específica de paz en todo el Mediterráneo. El Mediterráneo se ve marcado hoy en día por profundas incertidumbres. Estoy pensando en los conflictos en curso en Oriente Medio, en Sahel, en Gaza, que no están causando solo pérdidas trágicas de vidas humanas, sino que también, y lo sabemos, están dando lugar a una inestabilidad duradera y están erosionando la confianza entre las naciones y las comunidades, además de alimentar flujos migratorios irregulares que además a menudo acaban de forma dramática. Así que en este contexto extremadamente frágil, la escalada reciente entre los conflictos, por ejemplo, estoy pensando en el conflicto entre Israel e Irán, no ha hecho sino escalar la tensión aún más, aumentando los temores de que la región de Oriente Medio en su conjunto pueda caer en una nueva fase de conflicto prolongado, lo que pondría en serio peligro cualquier posibilidad de alcanzar una estabilidad duradera. Acogemos, por tanto, con satisfacción en esta Asamblea el frágil alto el fuego logrado entre Israel e Irán y esperamos que dure, que se mantenga. La situación trágica en Gaza exhorta a adoptar acciones humanitarias decisivas y efectivas. Creo que necesitamos pensar en los civiles, en las infraestructuras públicas, en las instalaciones sanitarias que han de estar protegidas de conformidad con el derecho internacional. Y esta Asamblea, una vez más, tiene que hablar con claridad y expresarse con claridad. La guerra tiene que terminar de forma inmediata. El acceso humanitario a Gaza ha de estar garantizado y los rehenes israelíes que todavía se encuentran en manos de los terroristas de Hamás han de ser puestos en libertad. Y hemos de crear las condiciones mínimas para reconstruir la esperanza. Sabemos, obviamente, que hoy en día hablar de una solución de dos estados puede parecer como una esperanza muy lejana. Pero yo estoy convencida que precisamente ahora, en estas circunstancias tan complejas, cuando debemos reafirmar claramente que es una clara necesidad. Es absolutamente necesario contar con una paz compartida, duradera y justa. Y la solución de dos estados sigue siendo el único camino viable de cara a alcanzar este tipo de paz. Así que en este contexto, la diplomacia parlamentaria resulta especialmente valiosa, porque la cooperación y el diálogo entre los representantes electos puede contribuir a forjar puentes y a apoyar los canales diplomáticos tradicionales. Estimados colegas, una vez más, el Mediterráneo ha de ser capaz de creer en la posibilidad de una agenda positiva, una estrategia que no se limite a abordar las crisis, sino que también fomente el desarrollo sostenible, los intercambios culturales y perspectivas concretas para las nuevas generaciones y para el futuro de estas nuevas generaciones. El futuro del Mediterráneo precisa de una nueva generación mediterránea que crezca en el conocimiento, en el respeto y en el deseo de cooperar. En este sentido, acogemos con satisfacción la iniciativa de la Comisión Europea, la iniciativa de la comisaria Suiza, en el sentido de lanzar consultas de cara a adoptar un nuevo pacto por el Mediterráneo. El Parlamento Europeo no se limita a observar este proceso, sino que está participando activamente en este proceso y está absolutamente decidido a garantizar que el pacto responde con valentía a los complejos desafíos a los que se enfrenta nuestra región. Hemos examinado este tema durante todo este año y por ello hacemos un llamamiento a una agenda ambiciosa y que cuente con los recursos necesarios y emplearemos toda nuestra influencia política para guiar esta iniciativa. Para concluir, quisiera dirigirme a la futura presidencia egipcia para desearles, en primer lugar, el mejor de los trabajos, la mejor de las presidencias. Sé que la presidencia egipcia va a abordar los desafíos cruciales que marcan el futuro compartido de la región mediterránea, entre los que se incluye el pleno reconocimiento del papel estratégico que desempeñan los parlamentarios en tanto que representantes de los ciudadanos. Y en este sentido, nuestra Asamblea puede desempeñar un papel muy importante a la hora de fomentar un diálogo constructivo e inclusivo. El Parlamento Europeo reafirma su pleno apoyo a este compromiso y ofrece el máximo de la cooperación para garantizar que se alcanzan resultados concretos y duraderos en el camino hacia la paz, la estabilidad y el desarrollo sostenible en la totalidad de la región. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias, señora Picerno. Gracias por la intervención, por estar aquí y ahora tenemos que despedirla porque por cuestiones de agenda tiene que seguir con su trabajo. Vamos a dar la palabra ahora al presidente de la Cámara de Representantes de Marruecos, señor Rachid Talbi.
Señora Presidenta doña Francina Armengol, Presidenta del Congreso de los Diputados Español, Presidenta actual de la Asamblea Parlamentaria de la Unión por el Mediterráneo, señor don Javier Maroto, Vicepresidente del Senado Español, señoras y señores presidentes de los parlamentos de los Estados miembros de la Asamblea, señoras y señores, hoy se celebra la 18ª sesión en un momento muy difícil en Oriente Medio y en otras partes también del mundo. Todos los analistas estratégicos no hubiesen nunca imaginado la situación actual y la presidencia española ha mantenido la fecha en su momento y ha mantenido el lugar. Es una insistencia por parte de la presidencia española y por parte nuestra, insistiendo en que la paz es la vía. Muchísimas gracias, doña Francina, muchísimas gracias, don Pedro, por la invitación, por todo lo que ha facilitado la autoridad española, facilitado las condiciones para la celebración de la 18ª sesión de la Asamblea y también todo lo referente a la 9ª cumbre. Muchísimas gracias por haber elegido Málaga, gran ciudad veterana, un gran legado histórico. También es una ciudad que da al Mediterráneo, forma parte del Mediterráneo, está cara a cara con Marruecos, somos vecinos, es símbolo de la comunicación cultural y civilizacional. Muchísimas gracias. Espero que haya una trayectoria renovable siempre de la Asamblea, porque todos nosotros valoramos los retos y los dilemas ante nosotros en nuestra región especialmente, porque hay grandes posibilidades de riesgos. Hay conflictos, hay crisis en el seno del Mediterráneo y a nivel internacional todos somos conscientes de ello. Señoras y señores, yo no veo ninguna justificación para volver a reiterar las amenazas y los peligros ante los cuales estamos en la cuenca mediterránea. Lógicamente hay muchos puntos de vista desde el punto de vista geopolítico en todo lo que se refiere a la energía, al cambio climático, a la alimentación, la inmigración, pero permítanme, señoras y señores, recordar y con mucho dolor, mucha pena, los que están pagando esta situación tan decadente son los pueblos, la gente. Y el pueblo que más sufre es el pueblo palestino. Y la causa palestina y el conflicto israelo-palestino o palestino-israelí es lo que genera esta situación. Por tanto, llegar a soluciones para todos los problemas o gran parte de los problemas de nuestra región empezaría por un alto el fuego, parar el conflicto y nuestro rey, su majestad el rey Mohammed VI, presidente del Comité Jerusalén, dijo lo mismo. Tiene que haber dos estados, la solución de los dos estados. Allá sí vamos a cortarle el camino a los extremistas de ambas partes. Así va a haber un modo, una manera, una perspectiva para vivir conjuntamente y para aprovechar también todos los recursos de nuestra región. Y la verdad es que sin empoderar al pueblo palestino para que funcionasen todas las administraciones e instituciones palestinas con normalidad, si no empoderamos a los palestinos para que formasen su Estado con una capital en Jerusalén Oriental, si no pasa eso, vamos a estar sumergidos siempre en el extremismo y la falta de estabilidad. Creo que se equivoca cualquiera que estos retos estratégicos, geoestratégicos, van a seguir solamente limitados o cercados en la zona. No, si sigue la situación así, va a haber un gran problema porque la zona está en medio de todas las vías de negocio y comercio entre el este y el oeste y va a influir en la estabilidad en muchos países y muchas regiones. Hay muchos retos, pero siempre las voces de la sabiduría, de la prudencia, siempre se aferran y se valen de la paz y de la estabilidad. Esto es sabiduría. Aquí en Oriente Medio tenemos que trabajar utilizando la diplomacia bajo la protección y las indicaciones de nuestros líderes para paralizar esta situación tan peligrosa de acuerdo con el derecho internacional y con toda la legislación internacional. Señoras y señores, como he dicho ayer, reitero mi palabra. La situación en Oriente Medio no nos tiene que hacer olvidar las posibilidades, las capacidades de nuestra región. Por ejemplo, en la presidencia española se ha planteado el tema de la inmigración como un tema principal y, lógicamente, las guerras y los conflictos y las alteraciones climáticas debilitan el desarrollo, y el desarrollo cuando es débil genera más inmigración. Por tanto, todas las comunidades y las sociedades y los estados tienen que tratar el tema desde la raíz, que es el país de origen. Por tanto, todos los organismos, todas las cumbres de presidentes y precisamente en la reunión de Granada, yo creo que sí que hemos llegado a diagnosticar cuál es el fenómeno, cuáles son las razones de la inmigración ilegal. Por tanto, tenemos que tener muy en cuenta el legado, o sea, la dimensión histórica de la inmigración. La inmigración no es algo de ayer, porque hay varios problemas interconectados. Por tanto, tenemos que desconectar estos problemas cada uno del otro y tenemos que valorar muchísimo, muchísimo funciona el micrófono. Todos los legisladores, toda la élite tiene que trabajar para cambiar o para corregir los conceptos sobre la inmigración. Tenemos que tener muy en cuenta toda la problemática que hay en los países de origen y tenemos también que preparar cómo hay que recibir a estos inmigrantes en los países o estados de destino. Por tanto, hay que ir a la raíz en el país de origen y allá tenemos que valorar también, que no es de menos, valorar y muy bien mucho los estados o países de tránsito. Tiene que haber una cooperación firme. Por ejemplo de ello, el Reino de Marruecos, el Reino de España, porque hay flujos inmigratorios de todas partes de África. Todo esto se realiza entre el gobierno español y el gobierno marroquí, teniendo en cuenta los derechos humanos y toda la legislación internacional. Señoras y señores, tenemos que trabajar dentro de nuestros parlamentos y teniendo en cuenta todos los retos que acabamos de mencionar, retos relacionados lógicamente con la región mediterránea. Tenemos que acordarnos siempre de la historia. Esta región, esta cuenca mediterránea ha ayudado muchísimo en la construcción de la civilización, de la convivencia, del amor a la vida, de la libertad y de los intercambios y de las inmigraciones también, inmigraciones. Y al final de mi palabra me gustaría agradecer y mucho todo el esfuerzo realizado por la presidencia española, y aquí están representados o está representada la presidencia española por doña Francina Armengol y don Pedro, Congreso de los Diputados y el Senado. Y no es nuevo, España siempre ha sido un país que respeta el diálogo. También felicitamos a doctor Al-Jibali, presidente del Congreso de los Diputados egipcio, y sabemos que va a ser una presidencia fructífera y va a haber una continuación del deseo nuestro de que haya más estabilidad en nuestra región. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, señor Talvi. Seguidamente vamos a pasar a la presentación y adopción de las recomendaciones y propuestas de las comisiones y del Grupo de Trabajo sobre Financiación de la Asamblea y revisión del reglamento, cuando les vaya llamando también si quieren hacer uso del atril. Pero antes, como también en la vida hay que celebrar los buenos momentos, me llega que hoy cumple años el jefe de la delegación de Luxemburgo, el señor Marx Di Bartolomeo. Por tanto, feliz cumpleaños de parte de todas y de todos. No sé dónde le tenemos. Pues empezaríamos.
So let's start off with the Political Affairs, Security and Human Rights Committee. Mr. Giuseppe Antozzi, you have the floor when you're ready.
Illustre Presidenza, onorevoli rappresentanti.
Honourable Presidency, representatives of the Parliamentary Assembly. Well, these recommendations that we worked with in our committee, and I'd like to thank everyone for the contributions. We looked at suggestions to improve cooperation between the two shores of the Mediterranean to get a proper management of migratory flows. We based ourselves on an issue which is irrefutable. The management of flows is full of obstacles that make it very difficult for it to be sustainable and efficient. Structural obstacles, the lack of legal and safe ways of immigrating, and which is forcing people to take very dangerous routes and also to end up in the hands of mafias. And I know that very often we have different types of discourses, which makes it very difficult to have a common path to develop jointly. So, first of all, we've tried to look at the migratory flows and the policies that exist, the management of the borders, but at in the first place, we want to focus on human rights. Allow me, however, to talk about some other subjects here, which are directly linked to migratory flows. And I'm doing this not because I think we've found solutions and answers, but only clearly to refer to something in this House which is very important to all of us as human beings before members of Parliament. Therefore, it is absolutely important to talk about the debate we had in the political committee in March in Grenada, the situation in Gaza. The committee has underscored the absolute urgency of returning to the ceasefire and to release the hostages and to have guarantees so that there is access to humanitarian aid in Gaza with a sustainable peace based on the two-state solution and based on international law. This is what we would like to see achieved, and we're extremely concerned, however, because of the very dangerous escalation of many of the conflicts that exist. We need to change our attitude. We need to change our language. We need not only to look at diplomacy, we need to truly place the human beings at the heart of our policies. Mothers losing their children, but especially those children that drown in the Mediterranean whilst trying to immigrate. Now, let us talk about peace. If we want to talk about peace truly, we need to stop thinking that this is a prize that you get after a conflict. A peace is not a point of arrival. It's an investment. It's a daily process, and it's a political act, a courageous act, both for the Middle East, but also for many of the other zones that suffer from conflicts. In conflict theatres, millions of children grow without any schools, without trust. And the lack of access to education is not just a minor issue. It's a time bomb, and it's the mother of future instability. It's a fertile ground for extremism and for future immigration and migration. So we need to ask ourselves, what are we waiting for? Whilst we discuss the improvement of cooperation in the area of migratory flows, at the same time, so are we going to stick to the same structures? We need to invest in peace. We need to promote human rights, avoiding forced migration, and we need to save lives. We need to invest in peace, and it's not a utopia. It's a strategy. The Middle East is not just a conflict theater. It's a laboratory of civility, of living together. Our people have been fed on the same bread. They have had the same dreams. And let us not have the divisions distort our agenda. Let us let the Mediterranean theater of immigration to be seen as a tomb. Let us make it grow again. And this needs to be done by all of us. And I'd like to conclude with one word: hope. Hope of remembering those who lost their lives in their efforts, not only through the commemorations, but through facts. We need to take a tiny responsibility, all of us sitting here in this room. We need to have the strength and the long-term vision to transform this pain in love. Yes, we can do this. We can achieve this. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, señora Antocci. Tiene ahora la palabra en nombre de la Comisión.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the Economic and Social Affairs Committee, I'd now like to give the floor to the next speaker, Mr. Samil Ayrim.
Sayın Başkan,
Esteemed President, distinguished colleagues, first of all, I would like to thank the Spanish presidency for the valuable presidency. Distinguished guests, the meetings we held under the umbrella of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Union for the Mediterranean have provided us with an opportunity to reconsider our shared future. The fruitful work carried out in different committees has further strengthened our vision of regional solidarity. Within the scope of the work of the Economic Committee, which I have the honor to chair, we aim to address the issue of migration in a comprehensive and holistic manner in a meeting held in Istanbul on 28th of April. We indeed emphasized that the need for a fair migration policy that respects human dignity across both shores of the Mediterranean. We discussed concrete proposals such as responsibility sharing and the establishment of legal pathways. We also examined how migration dynamics along the Euromed axis affect the economic and social structures of our countries. Particular attention was given to how global inequalities deepen youth unemployment, social exclusion, and vulnerabilities in our region. Distinguished colleagues, as we all know, migration indeed shaped the identity of Mediterranean. However, the migration is not an issue of mobility today, but at the same time, it is a matter of social cohesion, and it has a huge impact on the security policies. It is a complex phenomenon. The issue and the phenomenon of migration is indeed a matter that no country on its own can tackle. That's why in the Euro-Mediterranean region we need more solidarity, responsibility sharing, and we are calling for working in coordination. Between the countries of origin, destination, and transit, we should boost our cooperation and collaboration. We should cherish the humanitarian values, and on the basis of humanitarian law, we should develop comprehensive migration management strategies. We should see migration not as a crisis, but rather as an opportunity. Last but not least, I would like to touch upon the latest developments unfolding in our region, the situation in Palestine and Ukraine. Last but not least, the war between Israel and Iran aggravated the situation in our region, showing every one of us we need peace more than ever. So as the Republic of Turkey, we have been working around the clock in order to put an end to this war taking place in Gaza. Unfortunately, innocent people, elders, children, mothers have died, and more than 50,000 people have lost their lives. We hope for a two-state solution with East Al-Quds, Jerusalem being its capital. And we also support a two-state solution. That's what I would like to underline once again. And hopefully the ceasefire between Israel and Iran would be permanent. And we also hope and pray that the ceasefire will be brokered between Russia and Ukraine. Distinguished colleagues, we present the recommendations that we prepared to your votes. After a short while, we indeed carried out a meticulous work. Hopefully, with your contributions, you will be approving the recommendation text that we prepared. As I conclude my remarks, once again, I would like to state that our will of living together will not only stay on policy papers, but also will have its reflections on the principal policies: economic justice, environmental responsibility, and humanitarian policies will be meaningful as long as they are implemented by law. Mediterranean is our common home, and we can protect our home if we work together. I would like to thank every one of you for your contributions in all our committee work. I hope and pray that this spirit will not only stay on this hall, but will have its reverberations in our capital. I hope everyone will understand once again brotherhood is so important. Spanish presidency showed every one of us how important the brotherhood and peace is important. As long as we keep our channels of dialogue open, we will get to know each other better. Thank you so much for your participation, and I also wish success to Egyptian presidency. I would like to state that the benchmark for success is very high. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aim. Then, representing the Committee on Improving Quality of Life Exchange between Civil Society and Culture, Mr. Mohamed Soudou.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين السيدة الرئيسة مجلس النواب الإسباني.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Honourable Speaker of the Congress of Deputies, also Honourable First Deputy Speaker of the Senate of Spain, parliamentarians, and representatives of all parliamentary authorities. First of all, let me say that the Spanish presidency has been excellent. The degree of understanding, the effectiveness, the efficiency, and the cordial atmosphere generated for all of us all was excellent. We've seen also that the Spanish presidency was very, very keen to launch a whole host of positive initiatives, and all of that, I think, really does underscore the role that is being played now by the Parliamentary Assembly of the Union for the Mediterranean. Let me talk about
So on the 26th of June, we celebrated this, and this meeting is going to be dealing with the possibility of structuring measures and proposals to achieve future objectives in medium and long term, and also to deal with renewable energy and the the energy transition for the future. Allow me to talk about the spirit of understanding and of dialogue which we have been able to develop over the last few events and meetings, and all the initiatives that have been taken, which are clearly showing us that there is a will on behalf of everyone to achieve our objectives. The project, or the draft recommendation, ladies and gentlemen, is essential in order to face up to our future. We have, of course, climate, economic, geopolitical issues, and it clearly reflects our conviction on dialogue between civilizations in order to survive and live together, and the wish of creating a common area around the Mediterranean, and to make sure that this is a Mediterranean that should be proud of its diversity, of its wealth, religious wealth, cultural wealth, ethnic wealth. And we should also look at what unites us and not what separates us. I'd also like to talk about revitalizing the economy, and also the measures related to achieving social justice and improving social equality. between the peoples of the Mediterranean. Because after all, the Mediterranean represents wealth, a huge wealth, and we need to use our cultural wealth, our cultural diversity to deal with extremism. From this very Parliamentary Assembly, where we represent this political force and strength and our goodwill to build these bridges and to integrate policies, constructive policies, which will consolidate peace. Now, as far as renewable energy is concerned, we must make sure that this is a pillar of economic development. We're faced with a very important element to face up to climate change and to use our natural resources. Resources that we have in the Mediterranean, solar energy, hydroelectric energy, and green hydrogen, which I believe could be a huge asset when looking at green energy. And then when it comes to the adjustment, structural adjustments, renewables can play an important role. And I'd also like to call upon the members of Parliament present here today to approve the legal measures and legislative steps that need to be taken to promote funding to achieve all of these objectives. And lastly, I would also like to wish all of you a lot of good luck so that all our efforts can really achieve the best possible results and that can turn the Mediterranean into an oasis of prosperity and development. Thank you so much for your help and have an excellent day. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Sidou. On behalf of the Committee on Women's Rights in the Euro-Mediterranean countries, Ms. Simona Petrucci has the floor.
Grazie Francina, grazie.
Thank you, Francina. Thank you, Javier. Honourable colleagues, allow me to thank all of the members of the committee, of the Women's Committee, because it has been a pleasure for us. I mean, half the members are women and the other half the members are men. So it's not just a question that relates simply only to women. No, it is only by making it very clear that the importance of women, maybe we can then change a mentality that has existed for too many years. So thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank the Spanish presidency for this excellent work, because I've really been able to appreciate not only the beautiful places which we visited, but also the generosity of the Spaniards. So thank you. Thank you very much. So here I am, standing to tell you a little bit about what this committee has done. Last year in Rabat, in February, we put forward a proposal. I talked about a specific issue on women's rights, but women who work especially in the STEM professions, in the scientific professions. And this has been dealt with by ourselves in the committee, but also by the Union for the Mediterranean. We've seen that very few women on the northern shores of the Mediterranean actually work in STEM areas, whereas in the south, on the southern shores of the Mediterranean, many women go to universities, but they don't find too many jobs. So we tried to understand why and how we could invert this gap. So we set ourselves a work in Rabat. We adopted best practices, and then we started debates. The first meeting was held in Rome, in the beautiful seat of the Senate of the Italian Republic, and that is where we decided to start an important debate. A debate reflecting our reality, our social and economic realities. And then during the World Day on Women in Science, and this also thanks to the activities of the Union for the Mediterranean, we started a debate online. And many members of the committee took part in this debate. In the month of March, we decided to invite all members to fill in a questionnaire, asking them, please, to tell us a little about the situation of women in their own countries in these professions. From this questionnaire, we managed to deduce that there were many issues, and a document was prepared at the disposal of all the members of the committee. So this has allowed us to prepare significant contributions and to look at voices of women in STEM professions. I think together we did some excellent work. We prepared an excellent dialogue with a spirit of cooperation. I think we prepared some excellent results and a very good document. So what we suggest are programs for girls, special scholarships, and mentoring programs, allowing there to be opportunities and equal payment for women in this sector. It is with great satisfaction that I can now announce that thanks to the permanent work that we've done, the networking that we've done, and through parliamentary diplomacy, we actually now have a possibility for the Union for the Mediterranean to find funding for a possible project for women on the southern shores of the Mediterranean between 18 and 29 to enter the green economy. This is a project this is something that can really be achieved, that is for women to be able to work in STEM professions. This project was put into our recommendation. Our recommendation has already been approved, and I'm really, really happy with the outcome of the work of this committee. Yesterday, we talked about the new subject we shall be discussing in the future. We cannot waste any time. We now have the foundations, and now, shortly, we will be able to start building this building that this committee has been developing. Thank you, Francina. Thank you, and good luck to the future president of this very important committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Petrucci. Lastly, representing the Energy, Environment and Water Committee, Mr. Eduardo Teixeira.
Muchas gracias, señora Presidente.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Francina Mangold, Speaker of the Congress of Deputies. Also, First Deputy Speaker of the Senate of Spain, Mr. Javier Morato. and also the Deputy Speaker of the Chamber of Representatives of Egypt, Speaker of the Chamber of Representatives of Morocco. Good morning to all of you. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to participate in this fantastic session today. And I would like to say how positive we feel the outcome of the meeting is. Congratulations on the way that you've guided the session. It's a great venue here too in Malaga. The committee that I have the honor of presiding over, that is the Energy, Environment and Water Committee for Euro-Mediterranean countries, has been working very hard and has produced an important document. The document that we're presenting to you today has been approved by the committee, and it establishes some essential ideas for Euro-Mediterranean countries. If I could, I would like to talk you through some of the highlights of that paper. Climate situation in the Euro-Mediterranean area with serious consequences for the population, food scarcity, water scarcity, energy poverty, and also the threat to biodiversity. We also highlighted the fact that the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East have a severe impact on public health, on agriculture, causing food products to have rising prices, energy difficulties. In these circumstances, we also underscore the importance of cooperation between countries to be able to achieve the environmental goals established in the Paris Agreement. We've also focused on the energy transition and highlighted the importance of reaching carbon neutrality in this area. We talked a lot, too, about energy poverty. Turning to agriculture, the committee has underlined the fact that the Mediterranean area has been severely affected by desertification, with the threat that entails for all of its ecosystems and farming. There's also a water shortage, and the quality of water has also been impaired by the use of pollutants, which have had an impact on underground water resources. There are projects for desalination, for infrastructure. We also acknowledge that the Mediterranean is the second most important areas of biodiversity in the world, and therefore we urge policies to be in place for the effective protection of wildlife and biodiversity. With regard to the green economy and the circular economy, we also urge states to put in place operational policies. All of the proposals that have been put forward in the initial paper have been approved. No proposals from any state were omitted, so we have this final text which has been circulated to you, which has the full consensus of all of the states making up the committee once again. I would like to wish you a good conclusion to this meeting, and our thanks on behalf of the delegation that I preside from Portugal. Thank you very much for this excellent meeting in Malaga. Congratulations too to the Egyptian presidency that will be taking over the presidency of the Assembly as of today. We hope that you will have a productive presidency for the Mediterranean. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Teixeira. I've been told that all of the delegations have received by email the texts of all of the recommendations from the committees with their consensus attached to them. If you agree, we could say they are adopted. A round of applause for all of the committees for the work done.
Bien, pues ahora empezaríamos.
Well, we can move on to the list of requests for the floor. You all have 2 minutes, and I would please ask you to keep to the 2-minute slot because there have been a lot of requests for the floor, and then we have to move on to the closing session and the intervention from the next presidency. You can make your interventions from where you're sitting. If you'd like to stand up, you can also stand up or remain sitting. You can choose. So let's start off with the Speaker of the House of Representatives of Malta, Mr. Aldo Farrugia.
Thank you, Chair. I will go very quickly through some of the reports with regards to the political affairs, security and human rights. Definitely our peoples are not asking for speeches. They are demanding action, and that is why Malta proposes clear steps to this Assembly. First, the creation of the PAUFM Human Rights Monitoring Mechanism, mandated to produce annual independent country reports free from political interference. With regards to the report about the improving quality of life, civil society and culture, let me speak very clearly. Civil society is definitely essential to democracy. But civil society is not a license for disorder, nor is it an excuse for those who abuse freedom to sow division, hatred, or confusion. There is the difference between civic engagement and ideological activism. So fake news is not free speech. It is a weapon. It does not inform, it infects. And whether it wears the marks of civil society, it endangers our republics from within. First, we must enshrine legal protections for genuine civic space while outlawing the deliberate spread of misinformation, especially when cloaked in language of rights. With regards to the theme economic and financial affairs, social affairs and education, I would like to inform that Malta has always proposed 3 decisive measures. First, the creation of the Mediterranean Innovation and Skill Hubs, physical compasses for future industries. Second, every parliament represented here should also introduce what we call the mandatory social justice impact assessment on public budgets. This assessment will reveal who benefits, who is ignored, and who can no longer afford to wait for equity. And the third, I call for a binding Mediterranean youth guarantee to ensure that no young person should be left idle. And finally, with regards to the theme energy, environment and water, definitely we have a problem of water in the coming years. The urgency is becoming even greater. Today, close to half of the global population experience water scarcity at least once a year. Within just 5 years, global freshwater demand is projected to exceed supply by over 40%. So we have to address this problem, and I thank the Maltese Member of Parliament in the European Parliament, Thomas Bayada, who has led the way through the water resilience strategy. He has even demanded binding efficiency targets, action against toxic PFAC contamination, and public investment in water-saving infrastructure. His words ring clearly, and I quote, "Water is not optional, it is life, and our duty is to protect it." Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Tiene la palabra.
The floor goes now to the Executive Director of the Anna Lindh Foundation, Mr. Josep Ferrer.
First of all, I would like to give a big thank to the Spanish presidency of the Parliamentary Assembly of the UFM for its engagement and capacity to achieve results. In particular to Francine Armengol, Speaker of the Congress of Deputies, for her determination and enthusiasm to make possible that the representation of young leaders active participate in the plenaries organized during the Spanish presidency. Also, I would like to congratulate the new presidency of Egypt and to thank especially the Deputy Speaker of the Chamber of Representatives of Egypt, Mohamed Abu Elenin, for his kind words yesterday regarding the work of the Anna Lindh Foundation and the potential collaboration in the new presidency. Indeed, the Annalyn Foundation is at the disposal of the Annalyn Foundation, not only to collaborate in terms of the participation of youth, but also to promoting intercultural dialogue and enhancing visibility of the Barcelona process, fostering inclusion, social cohesion, and institutional cooperation. We are adopting a very pragmatic approach because we consider the intercultural dialogue should be useful for societies and institutions. And this is my offer, to be very much at your disposal in order to progress and to work together with the Parliamentary Assembly of the UFM in the coming months and years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ferreira. Let me give the floor now to the Director General of Casa Mediterráneo, Mr. Andrés Pereira. Thank you very much, Speaker. In this meeting of the honourable delegates representing the parliaments of the Euro-Mediterranean area, we've been talking about peace, migration, genocide and recognition of states. It's a great opportunity for us to be able to convey to our governments what we've talked about today and to try to align words, declarations with facts and deeds. If we all just say that we're against genocide, what about doing something, using the power of governments to make us really against it? If we're all saying we're in favour of the two-state solutions, then let's act that way. Let's recognise the state of Palestine so there can be two states. This would be an alignment between the consistency of the words that we say and the deeds of governments, the actions they take. The second message is, please, stop guaranteeing security. Let's guarantee the existence of people, nations. You can't guarantee the security of people by buying more and more sophisticated weapons for more and more sophisticated wars that require more and more sophisticated weapons. You can guarantee the existence of people and nations through peace and with peace. And the European Union's message is quite direct. It's not about really loading up the sophisticated weapons onto a train without knowing where the train's going and who's driving it. What is the common security policy in the European Union? What's the foreign policy? What is the role that the European Union would like to play in this tumultuous, stormy world with the declarations that are being made by certain leaders? That's what we have to do, guarantee the existence of nations and peoples, not just guarantee peace. And when we're talking about the Mediterranean area, let's get back to the 1995 direction. It's more valid than ever before because it guarantees the social economic coexistence of peoples, cultural diversity, religious diversity, and also guarantees essentially peaceful coexistence for prosperity and peace that we share. That is the message from us in Casa Mediterráneo. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Pereira. Let me give the floor now to the member of the Cabinet of Commission Speakers. That's Mr. Raul Hernandez. Thank you very much, Chair.
Commissioner for the Mediterranean, Suiza, I would like to thank the Spanish presidency of the UFM Parliamentary Assembly for this invitation. Working on a new pact for the Mediterranean is a key political priority for this Commission. The EU and Mediterranean partners are developing it together on the basis of joint ownership. A comprehensive consultation with both governmental and non-governmental stakeholders is ongoing. The Commission and the High Representative intend to adopt this new pact after the summer. There is momentum to seize, that we should be seized to find solutions to common challenges in the Mediterranean with ambition, with the objective to provide prosperity, peace and stability with concrete deliverables for the benefit of all. Joint priorities that we are working on include fostering people-to-people contacts, including skills and mobility for quality jobs, cultural and educational exchange. Second, on tapping the potential of the economy with sustainable investments, energy and digital connectivity, trade and also the opportunities under the blue economy. Third, strengthening the resilience, migration management, security and peace. Migration can only be managed with a comprehensive whole-of-route approach, preventing irregular migration, fighting smugglers, providing protection for those in need, and along the routes and paving the way for legal pathways. Fostering regional cooperation is crucial. The work of the new pact is timely, coinciding with the 30th anniversary of the Barcelona process, and the Union for the Mediterranean has a key role to play in the implementation of concrete initiatives under the pact. To conclude, one concrete deliverable that we are working on is establishing a youth parliamentary assembly, fundamental for an inclusive pact to have the youth on board. Engagement with the youth is very dear to Commissioner Šuica, and inspired by frameworks run by the youth, like the European Youth Forum and national councils, youth sounding boards, the European Commission is looking forward to facilitate discussions with the upcoming presidency of the Parliamentary Assembly, the European Parliament, and other stakeholders like the Annalyn Foundation. Gracias, Presidenta.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Hernandez. Let me give the floor now to the head of the Spanish delegation. Thank you, Speaker and Chair. We are completing a cycle of work in which we have seen the spirit of consensus dialogue to be able to reach agreements. This forum, with our multilateral approach, is and will continue to be a benchmark forum to continue to strengthen our Mediterranean policies. We are in a new international context now. We need to continue to have those commitments and pledges to move towards the 2030 agenda and the SDGs, climate change, food security, eliminating poverty and equality. All of these are causes of migration, but more importantly, the stability of the Euro-Mediterranean region needs to be a priority because peace has to come to the Middle East and, of course, everywhere in the world where there is a conflict. And for that to happen, the existence of two states is essential. Europe has set up a framework for the defense of human rights, and we need to continue in that direction, just as in every forum where we are saying that human beings have such a wealth behind us. We need to work in the interest of all. The civilian population should never suffer in a war because there should never be impunity with atrocities that are committed. Peace and security cannot be built with hunger and famine or orphans or death. Dialogue is one of the most powerful tools to be able to resolve conflicts today. And this Parliamentary Assembly of the Union for the Mediterranean is proof of that. We are an excellent example of strength and commitment because of all of the endeavors of all here. Let's continue working to ensure that the Mediterranean area is an area of peace and security. As I said before, we have so many challenges to take on, and one of those is migration. And I'm absolutely sure that we will be able to reach an agreement while defending human rights and making sure that it is the overriding priority. Thank you very much to all of the committees and the plenary session for all the work done, and congratulations to the colleague who will be taking over the next presidency, to Egypt and the Egyptian delegation. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Diouf. The member of the European delegation has the floor now.
Merci beaucoup, chers collègues. Je voudrais tout d'abord saluer la nouvelle.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you so much. Can I greet the Egyptian presidency? And I'd also like to congratulate you for the interesting subjects that have been discussed. And after all, this is really the reason for the Union for the Mediterranean's existence. And we talk about this civilization around the entire Mediterranean. I speak on behalf of the ECR group. We have members from 19 different nationalities. We believe that the Mediterranean, when we talk about European civilization, we think of Greece, we think of the antique, ancient Greece, but also Egypt. We have a lot of work to do because partnerships will help us. Allow me to share 3 subjects with you. First of all, the issue of immigration. The Italian government has spoken to Tunisia, Egypt, very firm and solid partnerships. And I believe that we shouldn't have an approach on illegal immigration by controlling our borders. We need to help all those countries suffering from these migratory flows. And if Mediterranean countries are supported by Europe to protect their southern borders, well, then we won't have these migratory flows in Europe. Second subject is our fight against Islamic terrorism. This is a serious threat for our countries. And I know that countries have been affected also in the southern part of the Mediterranean. And countries need to try and put an end to this Islamic threat because it's a threat to our security. I know many countries have played important roles here, have tried to efficiently combat this terrorism, but this is a daily combat. And then, of course, lastly, security, territorial integrity. I'm thinking of my Moroccan friends. Territorial integrity needs to be defended, and the European Union needs to stand by their side. Thank you.
Tiene ahora la palabra la jefa de la delegación húngara.
I'd like to give the floor to Mrs. Katalin Sova, the head of the Hungarian delegation. You have the floor, madam.
Madame la Présidente, la Hongrie subit une...
Thank you, madam. Hungary has a double challenge. On the one hand, we provide aid to refugees, and we also concentrate on illegal crossings of our southern borders. Hungary has spent 2 billion euros on this issue. We also need to pay €1 million a day as a kind of punishment. Since the 2015 migratory crisis, we try to fight human trafficking. We also insist on the fact that profound causes need to be dealt at the very roots, locally. This is particularly important, especially in the light of the difference between illegal immigrants and refugees. We need to encourage the strengthening of cooperation between countries of origin, of transit and destination. Thanks to the setting up of economic partnerships, we can now create the necessary conditions for stable growth and to make sure that people can stay at home. We need to help countries to improve their economy so that people can stay at home. Because if not, a migratory and humanitarian crisis could happen in the future. We want to avoid this because we believe that we don't see migration as a fundamental human right. And we are putting our policies into practice on the basis of our national sovereignty. We believe that the Hungarian policies are respected by other countries. We do not accept the World Immigration Pact or World Pact on Refugees. Therefore, we cannot support any reference to this pact as a common commitment. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Tiene la palabra ahora la jefa.
Thank you so much. I'd now like to give the floor to Mrs. Stodanovic from the Slovenian delegation.
Honourable colleagues, esteemed delegates, allow me first to thank you for your yesterday's constructive work and to reaffirm you, Slovenia, its government and parliamentary coalition are committed to our common goals dedicated to resolve the forthcoming environmental challenges. The Mediterranean is a uniquely vulnerable region, geographically, environmentally, and socio-economically, so a decisive action must sit at the heart of our agenda. We must accelerate its implementation. Equally urgent is the humanitarian situation in Gaza. The suffering of civilians weighs heavily on all our conscience. One thing is important. We must not allow for Gaza to disappear from headlines and agendas. All attempts to deviate the public attention are done on purpose, and the international community should pay close attention for this not to happen. Slovenia will continue to be very vocal about it. Another persistent challenge is women's rights. Empowering women and youth through education, vocational training and supportive legal frameworks is not only a moral imperative but a strategic necessity for inclusive prosperity. Slovenia will continue to back various EU and other instruments and invest in research, science, mobility and digitalization. Finally, I'd like to once again express our gratitude for the hosts for bringing us here, the parliamentarians of different countries with one common aim. Structural change is never easy, especially in environmental policy, but we have to show courage. In Slovenia, the coalition is currently preparing an ambitious environmental bill, knowing full well that necessary reforms are often unpopular, but the climate emergency does not wait for electoral cycles. Let us move forward together and resolute, focusing on results. And when we meet again in Egypt, may we already celebrate a more peaceful, greener and fairer Mediterranean, the result and a testament of what we can and should achieve at this and similar future summits. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias. Tiene la palabra.
Thank you. I'd like to give the floor to the Turkish delegation, the head of the Turkish delegation, Mr. Savicoglu.
Sayın Başkan,
Esteemed President, distinguished colleagues and valuable participants, first of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude on behalf of myself and the Turkish delegation to all the members of the Spanish presidency who have hosted us here with great hospitality. Although our views may diverge from time to time, our ability to engage in dialogue around the same table on the basis of mutual respect transforms the Mediterranean into more than just a historical region, and the Mediterranean becomes a political and moral space that speaks the same language of peace. This year's General Assembly has brought to our agenda not only structural issues, but also deeper, human-centered questions. What kind of future do we want to build? What values can unite us? And what kind of a Mediterranean will we leave to the children of this region? These meetings, which are based on regional solidarity, multilateral cooperation and mutual respect, have been a great achievement for parliamentary diplomacy. However, the delegation from European Parliament used a term, Islamic terrorism, which is a fabricated term. Israel, which murders people, are they Muslims? How can you speak of Islamic terrorism? If we follow your mentality, then are we supposed to come up with the terms like Jewish terrorism? Well, as our President Recep Tayyip Erdogan mentioned many times, there is no religion when it comes to terror. Terror has no religion. Terror is terror. Whoever executes it, they are terrorists. Today we are speaking of state terrorism. Innocent people, children are murdered in Palestine, in Gaza, and they are bombed. And they cannot be explained through Islam. And this is the masking the state terrorism, but nothing else. So as the Republic of Turkey, we believe that the Mediterranean is not just a border. It is a living space where peace, culture, and common civilizations intersect. In a world where children are condemned to hunger, women to thirst, and civilians to bombs, speaking of human rights and intercultural dialogue and cultural solidarity is only meaningful when done with a sincere voice. So by taking this opportunity, I would like to reiterate once again that Turkey will continue to be a constructive and principled supporter of all these efforts and endeavors, contributing to the strengthening of every bridge built between the two shores of the Mediterranean. Once again, I extend my gratitude to all those who contributed to the committee chairs, to my fellow colleagues and the Spanish presidency, and I hope that our next gathering under the Egyptian presidency will take place in a future filled with peace, harmony, and solidarity. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias. Tiene ahora la palabra.
Thank you. I'd now like to give the floor to the head of the Malta delegation, Mr. Carmelo Abella. You have the floor, sir.
Madam Speaker, colleagues, it is an honor to address you at this pivotal moment, gathered as we are in the spirit of the Barcelona process, reaffirming our shared commitment to peace, cooperation and understanding across our Mediterranean shores as we conclude our discussions here in Malaga. I wish today to mention the urgent need for dialogue and steadfast diplomatic engagement to secure peace and stability, most pressingly in the Middle East and in Ukraine. Our time is marked by the shadow of enduring conflict and human suffering in the Middle East, particularly in the Gaza Strip, and the Israel-Iran predicament, have brought devastation upon civilians, exposed fragile institutions to severe strains, and threatened regional and international security as a whole. The suffering of women, children, and the most vulnerable compels us to act with determination and compassion. As we support initiatives for early recovery and reconstruction, we must encourage all parties to return to the negotiating table, placing diplomacy above confrontation and dialogue above division. Lasting peace will only be possible through sustained engagement, recognition of human rights, and respect for the dignity of all peoples. Moreover, the security and stability of the entire Mediterranean is indelibly linked to the resolution of conflicts in its neighborhood. We must empower our youth to participate in peace-building efforts, fostering intercommunal understanding and preventing the seeds of radicalization from taking root. Our region faces interconnected challenges: migration, climate change, unemployment, and gender inequality. But open conflicts and violence erode the trust, solidarity, and ambition needed to tackle those issues. Only through dialogue, structured, sustained, and inclusive, can we find political solutions durable enough to deliver security and prosperity for our peoples. We must nurture peace education, intercultural understanding, and reconciliation programs, not merely as aspirations, but as the building blocks of a society prepared to resolve conflict through words, not weapons. As the Spanish presidency draws to a close, passing the torch to our Egyptian colleagues, we entrust the continuance of these efforts in the hope that the Parliamentary Assembly will remain a force for constructive democratic solutions. Let diplomacy prevail, let dialogue endure, let the voices of peace in our parliaments and beyond drown out the tumult of conflict. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias. Tiene ahora la palabra.
Thank you very much. I'd like to give the floor to the head of the Algerian delegation, Mr. Nasser Batish. Thank you so much. In the first place, I would like to thank the Spanish presidency for what it has offered us during this presidency, and in particular, I would like to thank you, Madam. I'd like to say that you've done some very commendable work. We would like, first and foremost, to express a reservation on the declaration, on the closing declaration, because we would like to establish a dialogue on this matter. From the Algerian point of view, we'd like to express a reservation on point 12, because it contravenes the foreign policies and also goes against international law. That is to the issue referring to neutrality and also the double standards. We believe that there is international law that needs to prevail, but goes against goes to the advantage of some and against others. So we'd like to call upon the parties to be neutral and not to take sides on certain, not to take sides to the disadvantage of certain parties. And here I'm referring to the Israeli invasion. I'd also like to talk about justice to the benefit of Palestinian people. The Palestinian issue needs to be a priority here, and we need to adopt a full solution for the Palestinian people through a sovereign Palestine state with a capital in eastern Jerusalem. And we'd also like to talk about the Israeli conflict and the Israeli aggression against Iran. We condemn this aggression, this Israeli aggression against Iran, and again we refer to international law to solve this problem from the diplomatic angle. I'd also like to talk about, in Chapter 12 of the Convention, we want to use the term prisoners rather than hostages, because I know that certain people have been kidnapped, both from the Israeli side and the Palestinian side. So I'd like to ask all of you to take this into account, and thank you to the Spanish presidency. And allow me to call upon to the future Egyptian presidency to take these aspects into account. Thank you so much. As we've already approved the resolution, sir, but it's true that the Algerian delegation did mention this yesterday, that you feel that this is part of the documentation. So your view will be reflected in the minutes of this meeting, okay? So we'd now like to give the floor to the head of the Finnish delegation, Mr. Nikkanen. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dear colleagues, it has been an absolute pleasure to be here in Malaga. Thank you also for the organizers, Spanish presidency. The topics covered here today are important, not only for the Assembly, but also for the north of Europe as well. Although I come from north of Europe, I see that we share many common challenges with the south. Both regions face war. Russia's illegal war on Ukraine has lasted long. It has created unimaginable suffering, loss of human lives, but also loss of environment. The same applies for Gaza Strip. These wars are not only humanitarian crises, they also affect permanently the environment and therefore all aspects of life. In this context, one way is to reduce dependency on fossil fuels. The EU, and especially Finland, have been working to reduce its resilience on Russian fossil fuels, especially since February 2022 illegal war aggression of Ukraine. While progress has been made, challenges remain. The question of energy is also a question of hard security. The less we finance Russia's energy business, the less we finance their war machine. Since the beginning of Ukraine war and the sanctions against Russia, we have seen shadow fleet movement in the Baltic Sea region. And obviously, this shadow fleet moves also in the Mediterranean area and Mediterranean Sea. The threat is real in all seas. The sanctions become powerless if they can be avoided. The shadow fleet also raises concerns about environmental and safety risks due to the condition of the vessels and the lack of transparency surrounding their operations. This common problem both in the Baltic Sea and in Mediterranean. In Finland, we aim to the world's first fossil-free society by 2035. The goal is to switch fully to renewable energy sources. In this area, I see many possibilities for cooperation for our business between the north and south of our continent. There are plenty of reasons to act now. We need strengthening the green security together. Cooperation and transparency must be improved. Investing in forest management and the green solutions, decentralizing energy and food supplies and services is crucial. Easing human suffering caused by the natural disasters is on our responsibility. We cannot delete natural disasters from this planet, but careful planning and impact assessment can ease the effects of them and prevent unnecessary suffering. This is also a question of civil and military preparedness and readiness. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Tiene ahora la palabra.
Thank you so much. It's now, I'd like to give the floor to the next speaker, Mrs. Simone Biesel from Luxembourg, the head of the Luxembourg delegation.
Mesdames, Messieurs,
Ladies and gentlemen, speakers, on behalf of the Luxembourg delegation, I would like to thank you very warmly. I'd like to thank the Spanish presidency for the excellent organization of this assembly, and also for all the work that has been done during your mandate, especially the very pleasant atmosphere of the meeting here in Malaga. Well, the geopolitical situation is very delicate in the Euro-Mediterranean region. Armed conflicts, economic problems, climate issues, which has led to migratory flows, especially from the south to the north. These flows can help the economies, but at the same time is a challenge for the countries of destination because of internal political pressure. So how do we explain the fact that for a certain period of time now, certain major countries of Northern Europe and the Northeastern Europe have started to control or actually close their borders, which is basically infringing the Schengen Agreement. 40 years of Schengen Agreement, which ensures the free circulation of people through countries belonging to Schengen. So if we look at the situation of immigrants, which is deteriorating, because 9 countries amongst the 47 countries of the Council of Europe have sent a letter to the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg to look at a change of the Convention of Human Rights of 1950 in order to strengthen national powers in the area of immigration and asylum. And I'm launching an appeal, a very, very fervent appeal, to please put an end to this type of attempt, especially on behalf of dignity, human dignity, solidarity to the benefit of all immigrants. Allow me to make another comment. Mare Nostrum. The Mare Nostrum, a lot of nanoparticles of plastic which are deteriorating and damaging the flora and marine fauna. Our treasure is in a very bad state, and we need to make extra efforts to protect it and to take care of it. Colleague, it's with a pleasure that I can say that the presidency is now, the torch is being handed over to Egypt. I know that Egypt has secular experience in the area of delicate negotiations with the neighboring countries, has already brought about many miracles over the last 30 years. So I believe, together with the Egyptian presidency, let's hope that very rapidly, as was said by the Vice President yesterday, that we can go back to a flourishing Middle East. I wish the Egyptian presidency success. Just as with your beautiful gem, your new museum, which I had the pleasure to visit twice and which I like very, very much. Thank you for your attention.
Muchas gracias. Tiene ahora la palabra.
Thank you. Can I now give the floor to the head of the Cyprus delegation, Mr. Neofitou?
Dear Madam President, the topic chosen by the Spanish presidency on immigration situation in the Mediterranean is very important to all of us. On behalf of the Parliament of Cyprus, I would like to express our appreciation for your recent visit to Cyprus and the opportunity to discuss issues of common interest. The conflict between Iran and Israel, in addition to the existing conflict in Gaza, threatens even more the turbulent, bloody Middle East and will probably increase further refugee flows. As parliamentarians, we must do our utmost to contribute towards the efforts to establish conditions of peace and security. Madam President, I would like to remind you that we, the Cypriots, are living in a divided country for the last 51 years as a result of the invasion in 1974. The inhabitants of Cyprus consist of Greeks and Turks, Muslims and Greeks. A just and a viable solution of a Cyprus issue will contribute the most in the stability and the security in our region and will become a model of peaceful coexistence of Christians and Muslims in a united Cyprus in a turbulent region of the Middle East. Thanks a lot.
Muchas gracias. Tiene ahora la palabra la
Thank you so much. Can I give the floor to the Latvian delegation? Mrs. Krasta, please.
Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by sincerely thanking the Spanish presidency for the excellent organization of this session and the warm hospitality. We are meeting at a time of a profound instability. Ongoing Russia's unprovoked invasion in Ukraine continues to cause immense human suffering, thousands of civilians killed, millions displaced, including many have fled and found refuge in the Latvia and Baltic region. This brutal, imperialistic Russia's war has disrupted global grain exports, intensified food insecurity, and worsened living conditions, particularly in Africa and Middle East. The shock of soaring energy prices has further deepened global inequalities and social hardship. As a country bordering Russia and Belarus, Latvia, along with our Baltic neighbors, understands the threats posed by authoritarian regimes. The Baltic states have contributed significantly to humanitarian assistance, military support, and the reception of refugees, reinforcing our role as reliable partners in upholding the values that we all share. Our experience reminds us that regional security in Europe and Mediterranean is closely interconnected. In the Middle East, recent escalations have been deeply concerning. The horrific events of October 7th, 2023 underscored the urgent need for a lasting peace. Latvia condemns terrorism and violence against civilians, calling for immediate release of all the hostages. Our Assembly should play a great role in fostering stability. Latvia, as a part of Baltic Sea region, supports a sustainable ceasefire and constructive regional engagement. Let's not forget we must stay united in our shared responsibility to uphold peace, our common values, and cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me give the floor to the head of the Romanian delegation, Mr. Baciu.
Honorable guests, esteemed participants, dear colleagues. I'd like to begin by thanking the Spanish presidency for their outstanding coordination of this plenary session and their unwavering support for our Assembly's mission. Our presence here today demonstrates our shared dedication to fostering peace and prosperity to the Euro-Mediterranean region. Dear colleagues, the Parliamentary Assembly of the Union for the Mediterranean is uniquely positioned to contribute to regional peace, dialogue and stability through parliamentary diplomacy. Migration remains a major challenge in our region, significantly impacting countries across the southern and eastern Europe, northern Africa and the Middle East. Romania's Schengen accession this January brings benefits and also highlights our responsibility to address security challenges, particularly cross-border crime and irregular migration. Combating organized crime remains our priority, with emphasis on dismantling migrant smuggling and human trafficking networks. We demonstrate our commitment to responsible migration management at Romania's border and the border European frontier. Romania actively contributes through strong partnership with the EU member states, European agencies and international organizations. We remain and maintain exemplary cooperation with our neighbors, with Bulgaria, Hungary and Turkey, fostering close strategic and operational relationships that are essential given the migratory pressure affecting the Balkan region. Through these efforts, we contribute to the broader Euro-Mediterranean commitment to managing migration challenges while upholding humanitarian obligation and regional security interests. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Let me give the floor to the head of the Netherlands delegation, Mr. Cornelis van der Sanden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Dutch delegation, I extend first of all my gratitude to the Spanish presidency for their warm embrace and impeccable organization here in Malaga. As we unite under the Mediterranean sun to champion peace and solidarity, I am before you with an urgent call, and that is to harness artificial intelligence to confront the tide of mis- and disinformation on, for example, migration and climate change, which risks unraveling the trust that binds our vibrant communities. AI contains the promise to illuminate truth. Fact-checking tools can dispel harmful myths about all sorts of topics like migration or, for example, elections. Myths that can fuel fear, undermine and disrupt our societies. The EU's AI Act, effective since February 25, demands ethical AI that upholds our shared values, while the COSAC Final Declaration of June 2025 urges innovation and education to shield democracy from disinformation's grip. Imagine our youth empowered by reliable information, weaving a tapestry of cultural unity this assembly holds dear. AI can be a powerful tool to fight the spreading of mis- and disinformation through detection, fact-checking and education. But yet, at the same time, AI's shadow looms large. Deepfakes, targeting, bots and biased algorithms too often amplify diversive narratives, stoking tensions over, for example, migration or social cohesion. Without vigilant oversight, AI could erode privacy and deepen mistrust. Let us equip our citizens with digital literacy to challenge falsehoods and forge robust AI standards rooted in transparency and inclusion, and commit to a resilient, inclusive and united future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Let me give the floor now to the head of the Italian delegation, Mr. Giulio Centimero.
Grazie, signora.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, honourable colleagues. In my very brief statement, I would like to mention something that has not really been mentioned over these last few days. That is the fact that the Iranian Parliament has decided to leave the treaty and to leave the international body that monitors the developments in nuclear energy. I think this is something that needs to be highlighted, and I think countries of the Mediterranean should be worried about this, because if we don't have any transparency, if there's no transparency, and if we don't communicate, especially in the area of nuclear energy, well, you could find yourself in serious problems. So I personally hope that either Iran changes its mind, Iran is not represented here in this assembly, or requests on the part of the European Union and other countries around the Mediterranean to make sure that we establish some degree of transparency, because if not, we will be running into risks. And please remember what happened in the case of Chernobyl and similar situations. So I would like to say that I'm in favor of the use of nuclear energy to produce energy, but certainly not for any conflicts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me give the floor now to the head of the Greek delegation, Mr. Mantas.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take this moment to strongly condemn the atrocious terrorist attack that struck the Mar Elias Greek Orthodox Church in Damascus last Sunday. An assault on a place of worship is an act that must never be tolerated. It is essential to guarantee the safety and protection of Syria's Christian community, alongside all other religious and ethnic groups. It falls to the Syrian transitional authorities to respond promptly and decisively and to implement meaningful safeguards for faith communities. Greece stands today as a steadfast advocate for peace, regional stability, and active cooperation in the Mediterranean. As a frontline state of the European Union, we are bound to face complex migratory issues that entail pressures and challenges on a daily basis. But we respond to them with resolve and responsibility. We have a clear and strict national strategy built on 3 pillars of policies: preventing illegal migration, organizing legal pathways efficiently, and refining our asylum procedures to uphold both humanitarian and operational standards. We strongly believe that the effective return of individuals who are not entitled to stay is fundamental to maintaining the credibility of both Greek and European migration policy. That is why Greece champions the adoption of a reinforced European Union regulation for returns, ensuring that all member states and third countries uphold their responsibilities. Similarly, we support revising the Safe Third Country concept to enable fair and expedited asylum decisions across the Union, while calling for the full implementation of the European Union-Turkey joint statement. In terms of legal migration, we are modernizing our framework to align with labour market needs, particularly in agriculture, construction, and tourism. Bilateral agreements are part of this effort to facilitate legal, seasonal employment with fairness and dignity at its core. With new migration challenges on the horizon, fueled by global instability and climate change, Greece remains fully committed to the protection of national and European Union borders while promoting, organizing, and controlled pathways for legal migration with respect to national needs. In this spirit, the new Pact on Migration and Asylum represents a pivotal step forward, a framework that balances national responsibility with European solidarity, offering a path toward more effective and united migration management. Closing, I would like to thank Spanish presidency for the warm hospitality and the excellent work, and wish to our Egyptian colleagues to have a fruitful and productive presidency. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me give the floor now to the head of the Palestinian delegation, Mr. Mansour.
Τι να κάνουμε,
el jefe de la delegación palestina.
Head of the Palestinian delegation, please.
¿No está?
I believe he's not here at the moment. So let's move on to the Spanish delegation. Madam Belén Hoyo. Thank you very much. The Speaker, good morning to all of you. I've already been part of this summit for a few years now, and I do really believe that the Spanish presidency has been an exemplary presidency, and I'm not saying that just because it's my country, but I think that tremendous work has been done by all of the technical staff as well. I think there's only one thing that we've lacked. A meeting in Valencia would have been good. It's another city on the Mediterranean coast, and if you have never been to Valencia, please, I would encourage you to visit Valencia in the future for pleasure or work. It really is a worthwhile visit. I think the spirit of cooperation dialogue that we always need has been present here. We particularly need this in these tumultuous times with complex geopolitical circumstances. Migration is a global issue, of course, and no country can address such a complex phenomenon on its own. Spain is familiar with both sides of the coin of migration. We receive migrants now, but at other times in our past, we too have emigrated to other countries from Spain. We're facing a structural, not a circumstantial challenge now. People are still moving around because of conflicts, or because they're being persecuted, or because they have a lack of means. That will continue to be the case. We can't close our eyes to that or build walls. We need to look for shared solutions. And we also need to act on the basis of responsibility, because unquestionably the most important thing that we need to do is guarantee life, to protect human rights and the dignity of all people, irrespective of where they were born. And we also need to take into account other aspects. This is a state-level policy, and before being discussed and consensus reached with other countries, we need to get that internal domestic consensus within each country, between different parties, between different territories, especially here between different regions. It's a challenge. We need to have a clear-cut policy, but it's more than that. It's an emergency. At least that is the case for Spain. Those policies need to promote legal migration that targets the full integration of the migrants as well as giving them jobs. But irregular migration needs to be put a stop to. We need to fight against those mafias and work in coordinated fashion with the countries of origin and transit. Today, Egypt is picking up the baton of the presidency to coordinate that common Mediterranean migratory policy. And the aim is to have that shared progress. Good luck to you, and thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Hoyo. Let me give the floor now to the member of the Lithuanian delegation, Mr. Rakutis.
Dear organizers, partners and participants of the Assembly, Kingdom of Spain, the Union for the Mediterranean should remain instrumental in seeking security and stability in the Euro-Mediterranean region. The new Pact for the Mediterranean represents a crucial step forward in shaping a more united, resilient and forward-looking partnership between the European Union and the wider Mediterranean region. Effective migration management and protection of external borders are our top priorities. We need to focus now on preparations to implement the new Migration and Asylum Pact, continue discussions on innovative solutions and make returns work. It is essential to develop and strengthen comprehensive partnership with countries of origin and transit, as without strong cooperation with our partners and EU migration and asylum policy cannot be effective. Legal migration pathways have to be prioritized and swiftly enhanced. As Russian and Belarusian hybrid attacks in the form of instrumentalization of migrants in the region continue, it is important that member states have the means to respond to those threats. Since instrumentalization is part of a much broader Russian hybrid campaign, we must work together to find ways to prevent and counter such attacks. And remarks as historian. We are in the region who historically was area of great non-controlled migration, connected with invasions, civilization changes, and disappearing of traditional structures. Learn the lessons learned from such events, which always was connected with wars, destructions and chaos. We all are interconnected. 16 centuries ago, Vandals, Germanic tribes, which take a name to Andalusia region, where our neighbors to the south. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me give the floor now to member of the Montenegrin delegation, Mr. Stojovic.
Señora Presidenta,
Madam Speaker, First Deputy Speaker of the Senate, dear colleagues, when we look at the Mediterranean today, with whatever application, we see constant movement. We have ships and people and routes. There's always been a space for circulation. It's never been a closed sea for more than 3,000 years. People have crossed the Mediterranean seeking trade or safety or opportunities for a better future. Migration is not new here in the Mediterranean. What is new is the scale of that migration, the complexity of the situation we're facing today. But if there is anything that we are quite clear about, the migration cannot just, as a policy, cannot be just about managing the arrival of people. It's about what comes after that. It's not about forcing people to lose their identity. It's about inclusion. A society that integrates people well is an open and resilient society. It's not about people being the same. It's about everybody being able to feel part of the society. The Mediterranean style of life based on daily life, family life, this is a starting point for integration. People who can more easily adapt feel when they are more easily accepted, they feel people are close to them. That is why we believe that we need more solid Mediterranean cooperation, more resilient systems. We need a more fairer share out and sustainable systems. Migration isn't just about borders. It's about social, economic and geopolitical aspects too. The current global context in the Middle East and right through to sub-Saharan Africa also remind us that this is also a security issue, but security should not be maintained at the expense of our values. If we only see people as a risk, we will never see the opportunity that they also bring to us, and we will turn the Mediterranean into a wall. And if we do that, we will lose what made it great right from the outset. Its openness, its exchanges, its movement. Our responsibility today is to make sure that that movement is orderly and fair. Because it's not about numbers, is it? It's about people. It's about our societies that we're building up together. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me give the floor to the member of the Turkish delegation, Mr. Faruk Atek.
Esteemed President and valuable participants, on the final day of our General Assembly, first of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to the Spanish Presidency for its hospitality and the valuable efforts. And I do believe that the consultations and the exchange of ideas we carried out in our committee meetings hold particular significance in shaping our common future. In this regard, within the framework of the Committee of Culture and Women, of which I'm a member, we addressed a number of important matters enriched by the valuable contributions of my esteemed colleagues. Under the theme of the Alliance of Civilizations in the light of the past and towards the future, we sought answers to how we can strengthen the tools of cultural diplomacy in the fight against marginalization and hate speech. I once again would like to emphasize that the decisions taken during this meeting made meaningful contributions to the cultural dimension. On the other hand, in the Women's Committee, we discussed how to ensure more active participation of women in STEM fields and in decision-making processes. We reached a consensus that strong societies can only be built upon a system where women and girls stand out in all fields, including but not limited to STEM. Our recommendation obviously reflects this vision. On this occasion, I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to all my colleagues who contributed to the drafting of our recommendation text. In conclusion, the Cyprus representative stated that Turkey is an invader. I strongly reject that statement. The Greek Cypriots were murdering Turkish babies in the bathtubs. So the Republic of Turkey carried out a peace operation as it is granted to it by the international law, putting an end to massacre in the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me give the floor now to the member of the Algerian delegation, Mr. Bukhari. First of all, in the name of the compassionate and merciful God, let me start off by thanking the Spanish presidency represented, of course, by the Speaker of the Congress of Deputies for all of their endeavors during this year-long presidency. Thank you so much for your hospitality too. And thank you for the fantastic organization of the presidencies. And also, if I could, I would like to wish the Egyptian presidency all good fortune. I do believe, of course, that it will be extremely successful as it sets out to lead the work done by this Parliamentary Assembly. The truth is that all of us have to remain firm advocates of a situation of investigation into the root causes and not the symptoms. The question is, why do young people, women and children, the sons and daughters of these women, migrate? Sometimes they even go on their own. We, of course, have to respect the will of peoples and support security and safety in those countries of origin. And well, we have to make a distinction between migration itself and making people emigrate. There's a difference there. One thing is poverty, another thing is to make other people poor. Look at the example of the Palestinian people. Thousands and thousands of people on a daily basis are waiting for simply a crumb of bread, and they don't get it. And we're seeing how there are governments in the West, in the East, in the whole world doing nothing, and we're seeing that Palestine needs to have its own state, full sovereignty and security. And secondly, let me go back to migration again. We have to strongly combat those organized groups, those mafias that are trafficking in human beings. And we also need to strengthen our people working in those countries of origin. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much. Let me give the floor now to the member of the European Parliament delegation, Mrs. Levanovici.
Thank you, President, and thank you for your hospitality. I am from Romania, so I do not have a Mediterranean Sea, but I have a Black Sea. We have a conflict too there next to us. It's Ukrainian-Russian conflict. But here we have the biggest genocide we ever seen. Excuse me, I'm a lawyer and I cannot be diplomatic. In fact, I will not be diplomatic at all. Because we are talking about diplomacy. We are talking about peace. We are talking about voting reports and laws for peace. But there in Palestine, they are killing people, they are killing children and women, thousands of children and women. Yes, I understand, Hamas killed 100 to 200 Israeli people, but for 2 years, Israel acts like a terrorist state. It's unbelievable how entire politics in the world can accept this kind of treatment. It's genocide, it's crimes against humanity. How can you stay to see how in 80 days they are starving, they are killing there, and nobody did a thing until China came and helped Palestinians in Gaza? All of our countries can become Gaza in one day. We are mothers. We have children. If you would kill my children, I would kill you. How can you stay here and we're talking about diplomacy? You sanctioned Russia, so sanction Israel. You cannot accuse Israel of crime and to do business with Israeli people. In my country, in Romania, we have a representative of Israeli deputy in the Parliament of Romania. You know what he's doing? He's doing laws, and all the majority, socialists and liberals, are voting as he said because he is a master of Romania. Now we have a law who forbid us to talk about Romanian history. If you talk about Romanian history between the 2 world wars, you are going to jail for 10 years because they don't like what happened there. We didn't kill an Israeli, and Shimon Peres told thanks Romania that we saved over 400,000 Israelis. So why do they kill a lot of Palestinians? Gaza is Palestina, as Kosovo is Serbia and Transylvania is Romania. You have a lot of problems here, but you have to take measures. You cannot do it with democracy when Israel killed people. Kill, 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 kill all the time. It's blood on their hands. In Cyprus, there are 600,000 Israelis who are now in Cyprus and by the territory, the land of Cyprus. What shall we do? We do business, but we accuse Israel. Don't do that. No, this is genocide. Stop it.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Let me give the floor now to the member of the Turkish delegation, Mr. Tezcan.
Sayın Başkan,
Esteemed President and distinguished colleagues,
çok kültürlü miras bugün bizlere bir sorumluluk yüklemektedir.
well, the multicultural heritage left to us by history places a responsibility on our shoulders today to build an alliance of civilizations based on mutual respect and solidarity among our people. Because the ongoing tragedy in Gaza reminds us, and the attacks to Israel reminds us of a fundamental truth. Peace can only be achieved through courageous political stances rooted in justice and equality. In the meanwhile, distinguished colleagues, the Greek Cypriot representative stated that due to 1974 invasion, I first of all strongly reject and condemn that term. 1974 was not an invasion, it was the peace operation in Cyprus. And the reason for that peace operation comes from the United Nations Security Council decisions. This peace operation has been carried out in line with the international law. The Turkish Cypriots, Turkish children have been murdered in their houses. So in order to protect them, in order to protect their rights, we carried out this legitimate peace operation. And its legitimacy is intact, and it finds its legitimacy from the United Nations Security Council decisions. So if we are speaking of an invasion on the island, the only invasion comes from the Greek Cypriots on 1963 by violating the constitution and usurping the rights of the Turkish Cypriots. The Turkish Cypriots did their share till today. The promises given to them are not kept. The Greek Cypriots do believe that the whole island, the richness of the whole island belongs to them. This is where the problem is stemming from. So the only solution is the equal sovereignty. On the basis of equal sovereignty, there is only one solution, and it is two-state solution. And the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus is the legitimate state of the Turkish Cypriots. One of the greatest threats before peace is the climate crisis. All these realities tells us one thing: parched lands, scorched forests, displaced communities. All those facts remind us one thing: climate policy must also become central not only to foreign policy but also to our shared conscience of humanity. An economic future powered by renewable energy, environmental diplomacy carried out in solidarity, and a rising language of peace among our people. This is what a true alliance looks like. With this awareness, we have now concluded our committee meetings and finalized our recommendations. I would like to extend my gratitude to the host of this valuable gathering and all the committees that contributed to these meetings, and all fellow parliamentarians who enriched this process, and we do believe that a brightful future is possible. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias. Tiene la palabra ahora.
Thank you. I'd now like to give the floor to the Hungarian delegation, Mr. Dudas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, dear colleagues. The European Union's migration policy must first answer a clear question: what is its main goal? To stop illegal migration or to manage it? Until now, it has seemed that the goal is to manage migration, or at least the EU has not found good ways to stop it. Sadly, the new proposal also shows this way of thinking. It focuses on the possible benefits of migration, not on stopping it. The real solution would be to deal with the reasons why illegal migration starts. We know that real progress in this area needs global cooperation. The European Union alone can't do it. The United Nations must also help, and the world economy needs to change how it thinks. I agree that the European Union should spend serious money to help the economies of some African and Asian countries to reduce the reasons that cause migration. But it's also very important to make sure that this money is not lost through corruption. Unfortunately, this has happened many times before. If a long war happens in the Middle East, it could cause a new wave of migration. Right now, we don't know what will happen. If the United States becomes directly involved in the war between Israel and Iran, it's unclear whether this will bring peace, as President Trump says, or lead to a long war.
Muchas gracias. Tiene ahora la palabra.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd now like to give the floor to a member of the Moroccan delegation, Mrs. Meriam Ouhajda. You have the floor, madam. Thank you so much. Honourable members, today this session, celebrated within the framework of the Union for the Mediterranean, is faced with a time where we need to consolidate peace, achieve and consolidate peace. I'd like to talk about young people and immigration. Young people are the largest number of people on both sides of the Mediterranean, but we can also see that young people are are losing trust in the institutions and losing trust in governments and everything related to res publica. We need to change this debate. We need to focus on opportunities, and we need to consider that these are energies that cannot be wasted. As parliaments, we need to make it quite clear that we introduce policies that promote entrepreneurship and that we can see a regulated circulation of young people and also of goods. We need to admit that the security of Europe, of course, is part of the stability in the southern shores of the Mediterranean. The future of our youth should be built back home, at home, and not in the dangerous dinghies that are crossing the oceans. Social justice, peace, and respect to the rule of law. And the only way to achieve this is through cooperation, parliamentary cooperation, in order to achieve policies that focus on human beings before anything else. Thank you. Member of the Algerian delegation, Mr. Omar Benaud. You have the floor, sir. Well, let peace be with you, Madam Chair, President of the or Speaker of the Spanish Parliament, and honourable gentlemen, ladies. Our meeting today is taking place at a time of conflict in the Mediterranean basin. The Mediterranean must not be the tomb of these people, of all these peoples. And as I'd like to speak about the people who talk about, or the gentleman who spoke about Islamism. Terrorism does not have a religion. And if there is terrorism, then it's the terrorism that is throwing bombs at the Palestinians, destroying hospitals and schools in Gaza. Why have we not seen any condemnation against Israel the way in which you have done in the case of Russia in its occupation of Ukraine? Our colleagues in Turkey and Spain have defended the peoples, the civilians, and we need to be very open and transparent with ourselves here in the Assembly. Yes, there is a genocide in the Middle East, and diplomacy, parliamentary diplomacy, needs to be activated, and all the criminals need to be taken to the international courts, especially human rights courts. So I take up this opportunity to talk about the Algerian perspective when dealing with illegal immigration. What we do is we guarantee dignified return for those people who want to return to their home countries voluntarily. We try to put all the means at their disposal and we also try to fight against those people that work in mafias trafficking with human beings. At the same time, I would also like to express a word of gratitude to the Spaniards for the excellent organization of this Parliamentary Assembly, and congratulations to the Egyptian delegation. I'd also like to ask you for there to be more participation in all the recommendations, more participation as we've had in the committees. Thank you. I'd now like to give the floor to Mrs. Ilaria Salis from the European Parliament delegation.
Grazie, buongiorno a tutte e a tutti.
Thank you. Good morning. Well, it would be lovely to really and truly talk about migratory policies in the Mediterranean. But the truth is that in most cases, what we call migratory policies are basically policies against immigration, against people, against rights, against life. And those responsible are those that are governing the European member states, both at the level of the Union and the level of the member states, because the Mediterranean is now the largest tomb in the world, and it affects a lot of the people from the southern shores, and many of these people come from from countries that you are representing here, countries where governments too often are accomplices of this European responsibility in exchange for some rapid, immediate advantage. At a time, the Mediterranean was the beating heart of a civilization where we had exchanges, meetings, and a lot of cultural enrichment. Today, however, it is a border, a militarized border, and here you only see racism, fear, and the logic of closure. We are being very blind. We have an historic opportunity that this geography offers us. I think it is possible and desirable to be part and parcel of the same humanity, which shares the same beautiful region to live in together. My Mediterranean, our Mediterranean, need to be a sea that unites, not divides. A vital necessity is to have the right to immigrate. And we need to build a lively, flourishing Mediterranean civilization. And we can do this through contact and through openness, and certainly not through isolation. Let us unite our voices from the north to the south. Let us fight against those against immigration, and let's turn it into a horizon of common understanding. That is what we need. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Tiene ahora la palabra.
Thank you so much. I'd now like to give the floor to the Turkish delegation. Mrs. Erdan Kilic, you have the floor, madam.
Teşekkür ediyorum.
Thank you very much, Ms. President, valuable participants. I would like to express my great pleasure in meeting with you on the occasion of our General Assembly. I also would like to express my sincere gratitude to Spain for its kind hospitality and meticulous presidency, and I wish success to the Egyptian presidency. As we have demonstrated during the General Assembly, the Mediterranean is not just a geography, it is a common memory where civilizations have met throughout history, where ideas and cultures have blended. The fact that we have come together here today with the will to solve the problems of this important basin together shows once again how vital parliamentary diplomacy is. We addressed multidimensional challenges ranging from migration to climate change, from youth employment to energy security within the scope of our committee meetings, and we created our recommendation texts by exchanging our views. However, those problems require not only technical solutions, they also require shared values, mutual trust, and sustainable cooperation. On this occasion, as Turkey, we are in favor of peaceful solutions, just development, regional solidarity. With this understanding, within the POFEM, I believe that we can build more inclusive, more effective, and more solution-oriented cooperation models under the same roof. Distinguished parliamentarians, the Greek Cypriot administration tried to identify Turkey as invader. We strongly reject it. In 1974, Turkey carried out a peace operation so that the lives of the Turkish Cypriots can be protected. It is a legitimate intervention. By twisting the realities in international platforms, the Greek Cypriot administration tries to carry out a black propaganda on Turkey, and this harms the peace process in Cyprus. So defining Turkey as an invader and twisting the historical facts will not be allowed by us. We will not keep our silence, and we will continue to stand with the Greek Cypriot people. So as the parliamentarians, we are working and we have the obligation to leave a more livable Mediterranean for the future generations. And we should boost our cooperation and collaboration, yielding concrete results. I would like to salute you all once again with love, friendship and respect. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. I'd now like to give the floor to a member of the delegation of Bosnia-Herzegovina, Mrs. Dervisekti. You have the floor, madam.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, it's a pleasure to be in Malaga, and I'd also like to thank Spain colleagues for such a warm welcome and really excellent organization. Migration has been a defining feature of human history, contributing significantly to the development and enrichment of society across the globe. When managed effectively, positive migration is not only a driver of economic, social, and cultural prosperity, but also a testament to the values of openness, inclusion, and shared human progress. Migration promotes humanitarian values by offering refuge to those fleeing conflict, persecution, or natural disasters. Societies demonstrate a commitment to human rights and global solidarity. But looking at this beautiful coast and Mediterranean Sea and thinking of those who did not get an opportunity to live a better life. People who are happy, safe, and satisfied in their home countries do not feel the need to migrate. This is why building peaceful societies, fostering dialogue, ensuring quality education, and pursuing political solutions are not just ideals. They are our moral obligation. Without them, we cannot create legal, just societies that embrace diversity and protect human rights. When these foundations are in place, migration becomes a choice, not a necessity. Ladies and gentlemen, migrations are our common responsibility. Peace, dialogue, and education must be the foundation of our societies. Finding political solutions in our responsibility, we cannot ignore anymore. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Tiene la palabra.
Thank you. I'd now like to give the floor to a member of the Algerian delegation, Mrs. Rebiai. You have the floor, madam.
Perdón, el micro, por favor.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السيدة الرئيسة، السيدات والسادة الحضور، سلام الله وكفى، والصلاة والسلام على النبي المصطفى. بداية اسمحوا لي أن أشكر السلطات الإسبانية على التميز بحسن الضيافة وكرم الاستقبال، وهذا إن دل على شيء إلا على حرصكم لتجسيد الأهداف المنوطة بالجمعية البرلمانية، فهنيئا لكم سيدتي الرئيسة. إن القضاء على الهجرة في البحر الأبيض المتوسط يدفعنا لضرورة التمييز بين الهجرة الإرادية رغبة في الدراسة أو العمل والحصول على حياة أفضل، والهجرة القسرية نتيجة الحروب وعدم الاستقرار بحثا عن الأمن. الحضور الكريم، القضاء على الهجرة يحتاج حلولا فعلية برؤى إنسانية وتعزيز تعاون دولي فعال. فالانتقال من الهجرة غير الشرعية إلى هجرة شرعية يستوجب علينا الوقوف على الآتي: تقديم مقترحات جدية وأكثر فعالية لتقنين الهجرة، تفعيل مبادرات الحوار الثنائية والجماعية، مراجعة ملف التأشيرات خاصة ما تعلق بالتأشيرات الدراسية. وأؤكد على هذه النقطة لأن نسبة الشباب كبيرة في الضفة الجنوبية للبحر الأبيض المتوسط، ولا بد لنا من الاستثمار في العنصر البشري المكسب، لأن العطاء المشترك سبيل فعال لتعزيز احترام حقوق الإنسان. ضرورة تقييم الجهود السابقة والوقوف على التحديات التي حالت دون تقديم الحلول الجذرية، ضرورة العمل على استئصال الهجرة السرية ومكافحة شبكات الاتجار غير المشروع بالبشر من خلال تجريمها. وباعتباري ممثلة للمرأة الجزائرية نرفض رفضا قاطعا الهجرة القسرية غير الشرعية للمرأة الفلسطينية وكل ما تعانيه من تقتيل وتجويع واغتصاب وهتك لحقوق الإنسان في ظل الصمت الدولي الرهيب. وأخيرا وليس آخرا أهنئ الإخوة المصريين بالرئاسة وأتمنى لهم التوفيق والسداد إن شاء الله، وسلام الله عليكم.
Gracias. Me parece que ha fallado la traducción al inglés, lo siento. Tiene ahora la palabra un miembro de la Delegación del Parlamento Europeo, el señor...
I'd like to give the floor to the next speaker, Mr. Julien Lenardeli.
Vamos a repetir la intervención.
Voy a despedirme, ya me iré.
So, Mr. Julien Leonardelli, the floor is yours. I don't know if you are here or not. Was not here. Okay, our next speaker is Ismail Mira from Algeria.
شكرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سيدتي الرئيسة.
Thank you. In the name of God. Thank you for giving me the floor. Good morning, and I would like to thank the Spanish authorities for the hospitality and for their very warm welcome organizing this important event. We wish the Egyptian presidency all the success, and we would also like to call for an immediate ceasefire of Israeli aggression against the people of Palestine, defenseless people of Palestine. When we talk about Hamas and when we talk about the release of hostages, we need to talk about the release of Palestinian hostages who have been kept in captivity because of this genocide.
Fama Rabiai. No, thank you so much, Mr. Rabiai. Our next speaker is Meral Danis Vestas from the Turkey-US delegation.
Thank you very much, esteemed President, distinguished parliamentarians. First of all, I would like to thank the Spanish presidency for hosting us here, and I would like to thank them for their hospitality, and I also would like to congratulate the Egyptian presidency. Hopefully, we will carry out even more fruitful works. Yesterday, we discussed the access of women to the STEM fields in great depth, and we stated that the women cannot enjoy equal opportunities and they are the victims of inequalities. We all know this fact very well. Well, violence against women and the violence inside of the family should be prevented. This is one of the most important priorities of the countries, because we see that although women live in different cultures and different geographies, in social lives, in political lives, women are facing with great inequality and discrimination, and we know that the violence is quite widespread. There is a very important convention, Istanbul Convention, and Istanbul Convention is prepared by the European Council in order to prevent the violence against women. And this convention has been undersigned by 45 European countries. I would like to share this important convention, and it identifies the responsibilities of the countries. And this is the first international convention which identifies violence against women as a violation of a fundamental human right. And of course, it is highly important that women should have a louder voice in all fields, including but not limited to STEM fields. But as parliamentarians, we should fight against the inequalities against women, and we should discuss what kind of measures we can take. I checked, there are some European and Mediterranean countries who are not party to the Istanbul Convention: Jordan, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, and unfortunately Turkey also, with the presidential decree numbered 3718, withdrew from Istanbul Convention. And we see that the half of the population, 50% of the global population, is facing with violence. As a result, undersigning Istanbul Convention will be highly important for millions of women. And we are responsible in front of our governments, and we should advocate for the fundamental rights of the woman. In our country, in Turkey, and in many other countries, as we deliver those speeches, at this very moment, I'm certain that women are being murdered and women face violence. So I would like to reiterate my call. All the PAVFEM countries should be a party to the Istanbul Convention, and it should undersign this convention. And I also would like to make a call upon my own parliament. Hopefully, the Turkish Grand National Assembly will show efforts so that Istanbul Convention will be put into effect. And I also would like to salute the women movements for their efforts and endeavors. Last but not least, Istanbul Convention enables women live. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please remember your speeches should be 2 minutes long only. Our next speaker is Asserin Seouf from Algeria.
بسم الله الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا مولانا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وله بعد.
Thank you so much for giving me the floor. I would like to thank the Spanish state for its hospitality and for its excellent hosting of this event. And I wish a lot of luck to the Egyptian presidency, which I'm sure will be exemplary. Firstly, allow me to establish a consensus. As a representative for the Algerian parliament and as a young person, freedom and human rights are not a la carte menus, and we just pick or choose what we like and we reject what we don't like. It's not possible to have prevail the dignity of human beings in Europe and that we crush them in African and Arab countries. We're all children of Adam, and duality or double standards are incompatible with human rights. It is not possible to respect human rights for just a social fragment or ethnic group, whereas you are crushing the human rights of others. That is not possible. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to point out that the obligations are abundant. But the most important obligation is time. We need to draw a distinction between immigration and the obligation to immigrate, and between poverty or the obligation of becoming impoverished, hunger and the obligation of starving. What we see in Palestine is that you're forced to immigrate, that you are forced to be poor, and that you are forced to starve, and the obligation to die, and that as the consequence of the American veto, which every time, day after day, does not approve the consensus expressed by the majority of the countries of the international community. We say that those who would like this cascade of bloodshed to be perpetuated stop killing children, stop bombarding hospitals, stop destroying hospitals, stop killing children and vulnerable populations who only want to be fed. Over the last month, over 600 Palestinians died while they tried to get a tiny bit of food as to not to starve. So, ladies and gentlemen, we need to respect and preserve human dignity. And in order for us not to be drowned in this ocean of blood. Thank you.
Speeches should last 2 minutes long, only, please. Our next speaker is Leoluca Orlando from the European Parliament, but he's not attending. So our next speaker is Levin Uysal from the Turkish delegation.
Sayın Başkan, esteemed President and distinguished participants, in the last 15 years, all around the world, 70 million people had to migrate from the lands they are born into. Today, only in Turkey, we have 5 million migrants, and 300,000 of them are in Mersin province. Migration is not only a number, it is indeed an exam for the humanity, and our duty is to work in order to make sure that our guests can go back to their homeland in a voluntary, secure fashion in line with the human dignity. On the other hand, Turkey, for the last 40 years, has been fighting against terrorism, and we have given 50,000 of our souls as a martyr. And today, the head of our political party, Devlet Bahçeli, indeed opts for a terror-free Turkey vision, which is appreciated by all the stakeholders of our society. Let's not forget, there is no winner in a war and there is no loser from a peace. Well, another crisis and threat is knocking on our door, the climate crisis. Unfortunately, we had the agricultural freeze disaster in Mersin. 30,000 of our farmers and 300,000 dekar of agricultural land area has been affected, and we lost $400 million. Mersin is not an ordinary city. It is a city of ports feeding the whole world. That's why I would like to reiterate our call once again. United Nations, World Bank, the Agricultural Development Fund, and the European Investment Bank should support the province of Mersin. We invite them to support us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Souir Fares from Algeria.
شكرا سيدي الرئيس بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله.
Thank you very much. In the name of the compassionate and the merciful God, ladies and gentlemen, here at this meeting today, the plenary session of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Union for the Mediterranean, we need to put our hand directly on the wound and honestly say what the diagnosis is, what the illness, the disease that has been affecting humankind since the end of the Second World War in 1945. While we talk about peace, while we try to achieve peace, while we try to consolidate peace, the international security policy in the world today cannot continue to rest on the ashes of the outrages from the past. 5 states. It's not right that 5 states decide on the fate of the whole of humankind because of that veto that was decided after the end of the Second World War. How can we keep on with that very unfair situation? This continuing massacre of children and old people, Palestinians who are being killed by Israel. Every time a solution is brought forth, these states, or one of these states, and members of the Security Council of the UN, basically destroys all of these efforts. Practically the whole of the international community, what it's trying to do, if we want to participate in any international or religious organization, and if we are far from this rethinking of the architecture that underpins the global governance today, we need to do something. Often we see that there are international mafias that are running things. The only thing they want to do is to maintain their own interests, and we condemn all of this. If we are going to continue with this unfair architecture and just make sure that the benefits are in the hands of a handful, then we will be backing the stance of the US president that urged the International Criminal Court to reject all of the cases for Netanyahu. We have to fight against this.
Our next speaker is Salowa Demnati from the Moroccan delegation.
شكرا سيد الرئيس رؤساء البرلمانات زميلتي.
Ladies and gentlemen, speakers and deputy speakers of the parliaments forming part of the Parliamentary Assembly, thank you very much. Thank you to Spain for the excellent welcome and hospitality and the excellent organization of this meeting at such a difficult time that we are living through in the Mediterranean because of the Middle East conflict, because of the Palestinian cause. Morocco views the Palestinian cause as a priority today, and we support the Palestinian people politically and economically. We stand in solidarity with them. As regards migration and the human tragedies that are the outcome of illegal migration, so many women have lost their children, their brothers, their husbands. This is unbearable pain and suffering. And what I would like to say is that Morocco is playing a priority role in this situation as a country of transit and a country of stability. Morocco does not see migration as a security issue. No, it is a humanitarian issue. We believe in the full respect for the human rights of migrants as part of Morocco's society. For many years now, Morocco has had a national migration and refugee policy along those lines. And that is why many migrants in Morocco have been able to see a better situation. There is a constant contact with the European Union on migration and the fight against the mafias that are trafficking in human beings. But when we talk about this subject, we have to say that you really have to try to get to grips with what the real reasons behind migration are. What are the problems in the countries of origin and transit? And what are the pathways towards these trafficking groups? Thanks to Spain for its presidency, and we wish all the best to Egypt.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Katerini Spiridaki from the Greek delegation.
Thank you, Chair. Dear colleagues.
Sorry for mispronouncing your name.
That is Katerini, the correct pronunciation. Thanks, Chair. Dear colleagues, before I start, let me express my deep concern following the recent attack in Marsilia's church in Damascus. Religious sites must never be targets. The safety of Syria's Christian population and all communities must be guaranteed with accountability as a priority. The current state of insecurity and uncertainty in our region has already translated into increased migration flows, with Greece once again at the forefront. What is unfolding in the Middle East threatens to intensify this dynamic further. We are not only witnessing new waves of displacement, but also an alarming rise in human rights violation, trafficking networks, and exploitation of human life. The pressure on frontline states like Greece is mounting. Allow me to speak frankly about Crete, my home region. In recent weeks, arrivals have surged dramatically, with over 700 people reaching in the island every single day. Local reception capacities are overwhelmed, communities are under strain, and instead of comprehensive strategy, we are too often left with reactive crisis management. Crete cannot and must not become a holding zone for human suffering. The migration crisis is not only a Greek issue. It is both Mediterranean and European scope. It calls for shared responsibility, coordinated policies, and above all, a balance between protection of borders and protection of people. Now is time for action rooted in solidarity, humanity, and long-term vision. And also, please, before closing, let me remind my Turkish colleagues that unfortunately, or should I say fortunately, what is deemed legal or illegal is not determined unilaterally by individual states, but by international law conventions, many of which are too often violated, disregarded, or was selectively instrumentalized. We firmly believe and will continue to support that the only viable solution for Cyprus is one grounded and not negotiable principles of international law aligned with the solutions of United Nations Security Council, a solution that is based on the reunification of the island and the immediate withdrawal of the Turkish military occupation force more than half a century after the invasion. And just to close, yesterday we heard important reflections in Committee of Women's Rights in Euro-Mediterranean countries. But the real test is not here. The real test is when we go back to our national parliaments and bring these conversations home. Only if we weaken the stereotypes, we can hope that the future generation will grow up with different rights, different cultures, and different reality. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another representative of the Greek delegation, that is Georgios Sikogios.
Yes. Thank you, Chair, and many thanks to the Spanish presidency for the warm hospitality, and all the best to the new Egyptian presidency. Distinguished colleagues, thank you for the opportunity to speak at this critical moment for Mediterranean as we face a humanitarian crisis that tests our common values. Almost 2 years ago, the Pylos shipwreck claimed over 600 lives with only 104 survivors. We have to make sure that such a horror never happens again. Our duty is to set and implement rules on migration, always based on international law and the law of the sea. Geneva Convention and its basic provision of non-refoulement shall be fully respected. We call for genuine solidarity, a core principle and obligation most important nowadays than ever before. Our countries must not be left to shoulder this burden alone or turned into holding camps. Responsibility sharing must be more than a slogan. EU relocation mechanism for asylum seekers and safe and legal pathways based on Marrakesh Agreement of the UN can provide a viable solution. We must also address and take measures on the root causes of forced migration. War, persecution, poverty and climate disasters drive families from their homes. And if we ignore this, people will continue to flee and risk their lives. Finally, dear colleagues, Mediterranean should be a sea of hope, as it has always been for thousands of years. A sea of prosperity, of mutual development and exchange, and not a tomb. Either this refers to migration and tragedies to the sea, either to Palestine, or to the solution of problems, as this in Cyprus, which needs solutions based on international law and the UN resolutions which call for bizonal and bicommunal federation and not for division. And of course, to the victims of the Greek Orthodox Church in Damascus. Right to life, right to justice and dignity should be always protected and not at any cost and with any exception be violated. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is a member of the European Parliament, Nikos Papandreou.
Thank you, Chair. Dear delegates, friends, colleagues, our position as Social Democrats is well known. We're trying to forge a common immigration policy. Not easy within European Union because the political landscape has changed. Our position as S&D, the progressive position, is now minority. We are looking for a global solution to include the Mediterranean countries in Europe and in the South, and yet that's hard to do when other countries want a piecemeal, country-by-country solution to immigration. The hearings and this discussion is more in line with what we believe. Moving away from the purely ideological, and I agree with the Greek colleagues before on Cyprus, I won't repeat what they said. We also support renewable energy as a way of bringing the countries closer, and something we call energy democracy, which is municipal renewable energy, free for the poorest in those regions. It's a way to bring us closer with green grids. Finally, I was very happy to hear the Turkish representative, Ms. Bestas, bring up the simple fact that while the discussion from Turkey and other countries was greatly in support of women's rights and access to STEM education, however, ironically, the Istanbul Convention, which was forged in Istanbul, has not yet been signed by Turkey. So I think the delegates would be well served to push their president to sign that convention and align with femicide and against gender violence. Thank you.
Okay, our last country is Egypt. Dia Dawood, the floor is yours. Sorry, I'm sorry, we cannot open a debate, it's impossible, I'm so sorry. So the last country is Egypt. Dia Dawood is here.
Yeah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اسمح لي بداية أن أؤكد أن احنا لم نطلب سوى كلمة واحدة.
First of all, let me just underscore that we were just asking for one intervention and taking into account our minority representation here today. In fact, I'm the only one here. And with this dialogue in mind, I honestly would say that your words and wishes perhaps will not help to put out that fire that we're seeing in the Middle East, all of these massacres that since the Balfour Declaration, This was the source, and this was the root of evil, all of the evils that have been wreaking havoc in the Middle East. And taking into account our role here in the Union for the Mediterranean, if we want to really maintain and further the spirit of Barcelona, we have to say that there are no tangible results there on the ground, and if there aren't any, they will have a knock-on effect on all conflicts in the Middle East. 56,000 Palestinians have died, those martyrs, so many women, 208,000 old people, 1,400 health professionals, 800 teachers have died. 113 members of the civil protection forces, hundreds have disappeared. 400 odd people, and they are men, women, and children. How can we overlook those figures in the current international situation? There are crises with 5 parties that are making it impossible for any solution. You've got the US, and the UK, France, and Germany. With their silence, they are complicit, and they're all assisting, emboldening the aggressive assailants there in Israel, Gaza, Syria, Lebanon, and now we're seeing Iran as a hotspot of tension. International organizations are also in crisis at the moment. I'd like to thank Spain for its presidency. It has been a commendable period of presidency, and I would urge the next presidency, Egypt, to protect the region's priorities and ban forced immigration.
Thank you so much. So other countries have taken the floor, but now we have the opportunity to hear the voice of the young people. We have 4 different members of the Anna Lindh Foundation. They are going to have the opportunity to say some statements. And the first one is Syed Bousen. Are you here? Okay. So do you have a micro or what? No? Could you please move to a place where you can use a micro?
ايه اللي حصل بعد ما انا اتكلمت كده؟ بقول لك ايه اللي حصل بعد ما اتكلمت؟ محدش بياخد الكلمه دي. اخر واحد.
Thank you. Dear speakers, delegates, attendees, I would like to thank the PIUFM and the Anna Lindh Foundation for supporting our voices as young researchers around the Mediterranean and convey us and our voices to these international fora. These spaces of dialogue are less and less common around the Mediterranean and less allowed to exist both in the south and northern shores of the Mediterranean. It is more relevant for me as my country, Tunisia, has been going through the past years through a shrinking civil space, diminishing human rights, and declining democracy. I am sad that no delegation from my country is attending this event, and even sadder that our parliament has been working for the last 3 years behind closed doors. Here, during this event, I listened to many topics, heard many amendments during the committees, especially around migration, rule of law, climate change. I got to talk to many people during rich conversations that tickled my curiosity. One of the lessons for me to take out of this event is that the Mediterranean is going through a historical moment, crossroads of its destiny. Either in the next 3 years it will cooperate and thrive, or it will keep fighting and decline. I also understood that the tensions and the conflicts happening are not necessarily and only between a country and another, between a culture and another, between a religion and another. What I understood is that these conflicts are more between two types of individuals. Those who look behind them, think only about their interests, and are willing to sacrifice principles on the altar of fear, domination, and power. And other people who look forward for the region, who dream of a better future for all of us, for the Mediterranean, and act upon that dream. These two types of people, I saw them during this event. I heard them in almost every single delegation I had the chance to talk to. I heard these ideas almost through every single amendment during the committee's sessions. I hope that everyone takes enough time to process what is happening, keep dreaming and thinking about this bright future that we might have or might not, and that everyone understands that there is absolutely no future for our Mediterranean region outside of tolerance and respect, outside of dialogue and cooperation. Thank you all. Shukran min Tunis.
Thank you. Alice Baalam.
Thank you. Honorable speakers and members of this assembly, thank you for giving space to youth participation on this important occasion, and to the Anna Lindh Foundation for giving me this opportunity. I've had the privilege to study across 5 countries, which showed me the transformative power of education and intercultural dialogue. By meeting diversity, we learn not only about others, but also about ourselves and the deep connections that unite us. The Euro-Mediterranean region is incredibly rich in its diversity, and education can be our common ground to cherish our richness. This has been an underlying theme these 2 days. As a young woman, I would like to highlight 3 ways in which education can help build more inclusive societies. First, we must provide sexuality and consent education across schools. Educating future generations on these topics can effectively counter gender-based violence and prevent feminicides. On average, 1 woman is killed every 10 minutes. This means that since we convened this morning, about 20 women were killed, and this cannot continue to be the case. Second, education is key to integration in the context of migration. It fosters intercultural dialogue and gives migrants the tools to participate fully in society in their new home. It builds communities grounded in respect, equality, and non-discrimination. Third, education empowers youth. We are not just the leaders of tomorrow, we are already driving social change today. But we need the tools and opportunities to do this, and education is the foundation. So invest in a future for women, marginalized groups, and youth. Invest in education and build an inclusive society of tomorrow across the Mediterranean. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dimitris Kolias.
Hi. Good evening for me. I would like also to thank the Spanish presidency and everyone here in the Anna Lindh Foundation for this opportunity. I would like also to stress the following. In addition of being an international relations researcher, I'm also a student of philosophy. And there's one thing philosophy teaches you. It is to look beneath the surface, to see the images behind the words. And the image I kept seeing today, and all these couple of months, it's existential threats, followed by some sort of justification for action, or under the mantle of some sort of a peace operation. It's a familiar narrative one that echoes across the Middle East, and it spills over to the Eastern Mediterranean, where I'm from Greece. Like a tide that pulls everything into its undertow. There's transactions, every diplomatic whisper that is increasingly filtered through the lens of security. Simple relations are securitized, mutually beneficial cooperation is viewed instead as a risk assessment. Yesterday, we heard a lot about Samuel Huntington's class of civilizations. It was cited a lot, more than once. Indeed, it is a powerful piece, but that's not really the sentiment we want echoing across the Mediterranean, is it? It is a sea that has, for millennia, been the cradle of exchange, of cultures in conversation. And if Huntington were here today, he'd do what realists always do. He would invoke interest, national interest, self-interest, but there's a catch. Whenever everything becomes about survival, about threats, about enemies, there's no space left for actual interest, or just fear and friction. And yes, geopolitical realities today demand a realist eye, but let us not forget that realism should not be a morality. That's a mistake we cannot afford to do in this ancient and interwoven place as the Mediterranean. Because if the Mediterranean has taught us anything, it's that relations matter, and without them, we don't risk just conflict. We lose the very soul that makes this region function. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Ruby Haji Naif.
Hello. First of all, greeting everyone, and I would like to start by saying if there's one outcome that the Spanish presidency should be proud of is giving platform for us youth, especially some of us who come from conflict area, and I hope for this to continue. As a young woman from Syria, I want to start saying that Syria is currently at a turning point. After the fall of a very oppressive regime, there's still many challenges. A few days ago, we saw a terrorist attack that targeted prayers at a church. There's still violation against human rights, and Syria is currently suffering from severe droughts that are threatening livelihood and lives, in addition to the collapsed health system and education system. But I'm here to say that there is a way forward. If you want one concrete action, I would ask you to support youth-led and women-led groups on the ground. Support them not only by statement, but also by funding regional cooperation and truly including them on agenda related to climate, digital rights, and governance. I think that all of you here have the political power to achieve that, but the question is, will you act? I think supporting youth-led and women-led group is really the way for bringing stability in the most fragile state like Syria. Thank you so much, and hopefully next time we will have Syria among us.
Thank you so much. This is our last speech. I think it's really, really refreshing to hear these young voices. Unfortunately, we don't have time for any debate. As chairman of this assembly, I would like to thank you all for your speeches. It has been a real pleasure hosting you all. The main topic for the Spanish presidency was migration, but we perfectly know that talking about Palestine has been a main issue in this assembly. So I'm obliged to say that Spain decided to invade the Palestinian delegation to this assembly. But unfortunately, the representative of the Palestinian delegation has not attended this meeting this morning. Mr. Ahmed Massouf is on the list, but he is not here for saying some words. For us, for the Spanish delegation, this is shocking, understandable, not understandable. A lot of people talking about Palestine, but a Palestinian delegation is missing. I know he is in Malaga. I was talking to him last night, but I don't know why he decided not to give some words in this assembly. It's the only thing I can say. But we have a last very important thing here to do. It's trespassing the presidency to our lovely friend, the Deputy Speaker of the Egypt Parliament.
Distinguished President,
right now, I can say he is the right man in the right moment for this new future coming in related to all the issues we have on the table. And Egypt is a great country. Ms. Mohammed Abdoualim Malis Al-Nubab is very concerned in every topic related to our countries in the Mediterranean area and around. So for me, as Vice Speaker of the Senate of Spain, it's an honor and it's a pleasure to give the floor to the new President of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Union of the Mediterranean. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, my friend, Mr. Maroto, first Deputy Speaker of the Spanish Senate, honorable members, congratulations to all of you. We've been listening to you for 3 days, and we've had a lot of different subjects, negotiations, conversations, which were clear, that came very much from the heart. I've listened to all of you, and you spoke with all the human warmth that you could convey. Human being who wants to build a better future, a future filled with love, with production, with creativeness, with a good use of our resources and the achievement of our values. And I've been listening to you very carefully, and through all the speakers of all the members of the member countries of this assembly. And people I've met from the very first day. So I'd like to greet all of you today for the trust that you have placed in us. And that is for us in Egypt, to the Egyptian Parliament, and to the Speaker, Magistrate Hanafi Al-Jibali, who's the Speaker of our Parliament, of the Egyptian Parliament. Thank you so much for putting trust in us and putting trust in the members of the Egyptian Parliament when you attended these meetings. And all of this has been done to try and prepare projects and programs, successful projects and programs. It's an honor for me to be here with you as a representative of the Egyptian Parliament and in representation of His Excellency the Magistrate Hanafi Al-Jibali, the Speaker of the Republic of Egypt's Parliament. A very important parliament, a parliament that is in charge of achieving the aspirations of the peoples. Our assembly attempts to do this, to unite the visions of the north and the south of the Mediterranean. Ladies and gentlemen, the conscience and the sincere words that come from the heart reach the heart. So what am I trying to convey? All of you have spoken from the heart. You've expressed your views, and you talked about the tragedies, you talked about the problems, and the history of humanity, and what is all the situations, the threats in the region, the situation of the Palestinian people. Now, why are we talking about this? It's because of occupation. The reason behind this is occupation. You've actually hit the nail on the head. It's occupation, it's the truth, it's the reality. You have reached the conclusion that the cause of the entire problem is the occupation of Palestinian lands. You've reached this conclusion on your own. Palestinians have the right to stay in their country, on their land, and the people of Palestine need to create their own state, because the occupier is an invader who has raped women and has killed children. So what security are we talking about here? Israel has occupied this territory, and they don't want to be told that they are the invader. And they are killing women, they are killing young people and children, and then they say, look, I'm defending my rights, I'm defending my state, the right to self-defense. No, that just doesn't work. This is an expansionist project, They are occupying this territory. They are expelling the people, and they are deploying themselves in Gaza, with the West Bank, in Libya, in Lebanon, and in Syria. And then they start talking about the new Middle East. What new Middle East? What project? Perhaps this project of the new Middle East basically means to expel the Palestinian people from its land, from its territory, from its country. What project do we mean here, ladies and gentlemen? But you, through your opinions, your constructive opinions, have put forward proposals and solutions. Yes, we need to go back to the negotiating table. Palestinians have their legal rights to have their state with the capital in eastern Jerusalem. They have the right for a dignified life for a people who wants to live in peace. It's if they achieve their state, there will be security all over. When we say that the Parliamentary Assembly of the Union for the Mediterranean, people say this. This is an historic message that comes out of this Parliamentary Assembly. Very clearly, the people of Palestine have the right to establish their state on their own land. And this attempt to kick them out are attempts rejected by this Assembly. And I praise you for your clean conscience that you've had talking about the Palestinian cause. Fair words, sincere words to all of the nations of the world. Yes, many parliamentary meetings have failed because some attempted to go against what is fair, what is just, and have changed their opinions. In the United Nations, the meetings end with no final decision. 145 countries offer the right to the Palestinians to have their own state, and just a single country uses the right of veto in the Security Council, and there's nothing left to be said. So all of this
is not going to lead to stability, is not going to lead to peace, and it is not going to lead to the wishes that we may have. We want peace, we want stability, we want development, we want there to be a splendorous future. We want to achieve the dreams of our young people. We want a sustainable development, and we want to build a better future. And we need to tell the entire world, look, we're the very birth of civilizations in the Mediterranean. The three monotheist religions were born in the Mediterranean. So all of this needs to be defended. We need to be a very clear example for the world. This cultural weight, this divine protection of this region leads us to call upon everyone to use your conscience, to go back to your parliaments, to go back and talk to your governments and explain what has happened here. It's not a question of meetings here. No, there has to be action. Initiatives need to be taken. There needs to be lobbies, and pressure needs to be brought to bear to achieve peace. I don't want to talk about many projects and visions. We've talked about this, but I am actually proud of being here with you today. I'm very happy to invite you to Cairo, to the northern coast, to Luxor, Aswan, Hurghada, or Sharm el-Sheikh when you travel to Egypt. We will have a cultural program, a high-level cultural program, so that you can really get a good idea of Egypt. Egypt is making progress. Egypt is the true partner of the European Union, and it is also the older sister of all the Arab states in the region. Whenever there's a crisis in the region, well, people come to Egypt, call upon Egypt. When there were problems in Sudan, the civil war in Sudan, well, it was Egypt who was asked to mediate. We received 4 million Sudanese citizens, and other problems in other countries, and I don't want to go into details on this. We have received all these refugees. So today there are 10 million refugees. We don't call them immigrants. We call them guests. There are 10 million guests in Egypt. They're being treated like Egyptians. They get school, they get food, schooling, food, and medical care. That is the very refined ethics, and that is what we call for. We're great friends with the European Union. It's a pleasure to meet with the governments of the European Union, and we offer infrastructure for the entire region. I mean, this historic prestige of Egypt is what we offer. We have cities that are specialized in industry, other cities that are experts in other parts of the economy. How can we build a future, an economic future, a cultural future? Let us get together, many of us, and we'll have meetings of the expert committees too. Yesterday we talked to the Bureau of the Assembly in order to define the program of the meetings that we will have in September from the 11th to the 14th. We shall be meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh. We'll talk about the economy, about politics, and about culture. We are going to make it very clear. We are going to say we want to speak out clearly. We want to give an example of how a parliamentary assembly works. We need to persevere. We need to communicate amongst ourselves. And it is a great pleasure for me to have listened to young people from the Anna Lindh Foundation, a young foundation which has some very positive effects on the past and the present. Its seat is in Alexandria, and we appreciate these young people and the Anna Lindh Foundation. You're a good example of our civil societies. Of course, the sciences of the future, the communication, is what worries young people. We don't want to spend time talking about initiatives that are never achieved. We will communicate with the European Commission. Yesterday, I spoke to the Vice President of the European Parliament so that we can have regular meetings. So we will also be developing common programs. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, we will be holding a celebration on the 28th of November to celebrate the International Day of the Mediterranean. We're going to be inviting many world leaders from all walks of life. And this is the meeting that will be held in November. We shall be inviting some distinguished guests to speak. And we'll talk about new platforms, too. And I think that is a new idea. We want a platform for young people. We want a platform for all modern technologies. And we want to have interaction with women, too. Other platforms that work in different ways. And I shall be talking to all the members of the committees. And I shall also speak to the Secretary General to try and set up a group from the Economic Committee so that we have continuous daily communication, not just during our meetings, but also there will be specific missions. Every group will be in charge of one of these missions, and even WhatsApp groups. Interaction, daily interaction. If we have a problem, then we shall react directly. That is the way in which proactively we can better solve our problems. So I repeat, I will always be a friend, a colleague, and I am happy to communicate and to cooperate. So thank you to all of you. Thank you for your trust in the Egyptian Parliament, and let peace prevail. Thank you.
Well, congratulations once more to the brand new president of this Parliamentary Assembly. It's a guarantee and an honor to have you here. My last words should be saying thank you to all of you, and consider this 9th Summit of Speakers and this 18th plenary session of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Union for the Mediterranean concluded. I hope you have enjoyed Malaga and Spain. And first of all, we will meet again in Cairo. But if not, you can always come to Spain whenever you want and enjoy this amazing country, our diversity, our food, our beaches, our landscape, our people, us. So thank you very much. We will invite you now to a small cocktail out there, and see you all very soon. Now, let me shake my hands to the brand new president.
Gracias.